Hello, hello. We are back. Sorry for the slight delay, OBS being a little bit slow on me. Let's see if it has saved everything we need to save. Welcome,
Hello,
Northbean. How's everyone doing today? Sound off in chat. How's everyone's day been? Yes, the bots are here. Hey, Leaky. Lovely to see you. Hi there. Hello. Let's see if
see
this...
ourselves?
That's all right. It'll work itself out in a moment, I promise.
Wild excitement.
I know, right?
Oh, live and unstable.
Live and unstable is generally the way I would describe us, yes. Well, it is lovely to see you. It's been a busy day for me, personally. I've been in London town doing, of all things, recording an audiobook. So let me know, actually, in chat if you'd be interested in seeing any of that stuff, because I can stream some of my daily work. Hello. Welcome, first-time chatter, Lily. Lovely to see you. Welcome, Skunky Toots. Fantastic name.
What a name.
We love this. Hey, Lawmonger. Hello. Hey, Geek Girl. Hey, Kai. Hello, everybody. Lovely to see you. Let's see. Yep, welcome to the mod team. So we're just getting started today. Today it is back to the tradition of Mental Health Monday. Oh, Kai, yes, this is it's where all the cool people are at, clearly. So this is back to our tradition of Mental Health Monday. And we are back at the Crazy Cafe, but today we are talking all things disordered eating. So we are talking both eating disorders and disordered eating, and indeed what the difference is between them. Potentially the first question that we have might be, what is the difference between those things? To give a little bit of background, what's sort of your experience with this topic?
Yeah, I had an eating disorder for 16 years. That's my background. Grand fun. Also, guys, obviously we're talking about disordered eating today. Please be safe with yourselves. This can often be a very difficult topic for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, I was bulimic for 16 odd years. I consider myself in remission. I'm asymptomatic from that particular fun time. But like, I very much hit anybody who's been in eating disorder communities will know the severe and enduring category. I very much hit that, where sort of I was basically told you won't be recovering ever, and I'm like, well, cheers, that's delightfully fatalistic of you, dear psychiatrists, wherever you are. But yeah, that's my history.
Well, thank you so much. I'm just going to thank you for sharing that. Leslie can't sleep. I'm sorry to hear that, but hello, welcome. Hey, Leather Pup.
Hey.
Hello. Hey, everyone.
Sisha.
It's good to see everybody. It's good to see everyone. Point out the living. I know, we saw that kind of... This has been blowing our minds. So before we sort of do full setup, while people are sort of all still coming in, a reminder, this is our, fourth stream now?
Yeah.
Our third stream together, but fourth stream overall, because I do a little bit. Also, plus the fun bonus stream. We are still brand new to so much of this. We'll shout out, if you do subscribe to our channel, there are some new emotes. I think there are some new emotes. By the way, we have changed points. Points are now potatoes, as promised, and you will be able to see these little potatoes. Let's see, can I put the specific...
Potato.
I can put potato in the chat.
There we go, potatoes.
I can do this. Yes, there we go. Potatoes in the chat. There are also gay potatoes, but Twitch is taking a little bit longer. Hello, welcome. Yes, very true. We do need to hydrate. Points mean potatoes.
Why potatoes?
Well, they mean potatoes because we ended up talking about them. We also have a few other fun custom...
Robyn's been off making emotes. I
have been making emotes. I have been making some. So, oh my goodness, there's some additional ones here that you can see. So I've been making some emotes. There are, by the way, more. They are just currently still, like I say, Twitch is just allowing them. My favourite one, can I put that one of you raging? I will show you. This is one of my favourites that I've made, which is M-Rage. Yes, peanuts points, reparations for Nightbots. Absolutely. I was debating putting bits as peanuts just for you. So, thank you very much. So, yeah, just checking in with everybody before we get started. It is quite a heavy topic.
Yeah.
But now we have potatoes. Yeah, there is non-binary potato that everyone will be able to use, and there's also gay potato, which is rainbow potato. If you're following me on Instagram, then by all means you can see on my story what gay potato looks like.
And we love the gay potato.
We love the gay potato. He pleases me.
Also, Fifi is unconscious somewhere, as far as I'm aware. She may turn up later.
Yes, Fifi's around.
She'll turn up, she'll scream. We can't control.
I mean, there is also a Fifi emote that we are waiting to see. It's just waiting to see whether or not it gets through. So this is lovely, and it is great to see. Yes, I'm glad. I'm so glad we're all enjoying all these lovely things. Welcome, first time chatter. Yes, Nightbot has very much been talked to. I went through all the settings and made sure it should be now behaving. If, however, there are any issues, let me know.
I understand it was particularly attacking you, Peanut.
It was.
What can we say?
Peanut was just the crime of being over-enthusiastic.
Honestly.
An enthusiastic peanut. The
and
peanut
yes,
was banned.
we will send the love to Fifi from everybody who loves Fifi.
We shall. And like I say, Fifi has also been immortalised in emote form, which again, like I don't know how long it takes to get emotes through the whole chat thing, but we will see. We will see.
It'll turn up eventually.
So again, thank
still
you.
Early in the day.
We are. It is still early days, but yes, we shall acquire more emotes. If you have any ideas for emotes, please do pop them in the chat, or if there's any things you want to see, let us know, because I shall try and make that happen with whatever skills I may have. Oh, we've got. I'm fascinated to see what these are doing, and yeah. Apparently, when you upload an emote, I don't know why it allows certain things and not others. Clearly, the rainbow potato offended the world. Anyway, it's lovely to see you. Thank you. Em's just given her description of your experience with this topic. Multiple years of bulimia, severe and enduring. Do you mind sort of saying where you're at now?
Yeah, so I've been recovered, asymptomatic, not regularly making myself throw up for, must be about 7 years now.
Yeah.
Christ, that's gone fast.
About 7 years.
Blimey. Sorry, I'm realising this in real time. It's very odd because it was such a enormous feature of my life for such a long time that the idea of now being symptom-free for 7 years is absolutely unhinged to me.
I think it's one of those things that, so we'll come back to, I think, can we pin? Someone remind me to pin this, is how much time. 7 years recovery, thank you. Rainbow dragons to go with, yes, we should try and get rainbow dragon.
Yes.
So it's the amount of time that disordered eating takes up in your head and in your life. But we'll come back to that. I'll just do a very quick words. What did I do? What's my experience? My experience is a little bit odd because I have not been diagnosed with anything formally, because the flavour of my disordered eating means that you need to go, unfortunately, again, trigger warning here, going to be talking BMIs, you have to go below a certain BMI in the UK in order to be diagnosed with things like anorexia athletica, things like that. And my BMI did not drop underneath that. It was very close. And there is arguments that I should have received help at a point that my BMI was not in a very happy place. However, I generally say I have had issues with eating or disordered eating for most of my life. But again, it didn't sort of sit in your camp, it was a very intense sort of 16 years of this very specific thing. I think for me personally, I was around the age of sort of 16. I talked last time, that was a big year for me, 16. And I was diagnosed celiac, and a lot of my behaviours around food shifted. And I'm not sure I would ever say I'm fully recovered. I think this last year or so has been the best for me in terms of my interaction with food. And this is the complicated thing that we'll get into, is what does any of this mean? Like, what is it?
Recovery is also a really interesting thing. There's a fantastic quote from Maya Hornbacher, which is I can't remember it exactly, but it's effectively the further through recovery you get, the more you realise how unfathomably fucked up everybody is about food.
This was going to be one of my questions.
Society more generally is amazingly screwed up about this, and it's kind of important to recognise that.
100%. This was actually going to be one of my questions. Is one of the things you do notice is what is normal? What is it to have non-disordered eating in a world that, God, with especially no one is safe from this as well. We've seen the rise in male eating disorders as well. Shout out to my men watching this who might be struggling with certain feelings, but because a lot of the kind of media and resources have been poured into the idea of it's a very female patterned, and it is still more women or AFAB people.
It's more diagnosed.
It's more diagnosed.
And I think one of the interesting things is the fact that a lot of particularly disordered eating and eating related issues are chronically underdiagnosed in people who don't fit certain types. And it's things like, bearing in mind, I was bulimic. I never had any things like being underweight or like BMI things or anything like that. So it was very much it was a pain in the arse getting good care, because I was having behaviours in secret, and I, for a lot of it, wasn't like, if you told me 10 years ago that I'd ever be talking publicly about any aspect of ever having had an eating disorder, I would have told you a godforsaken liar. So
100%. Sorry if I'm ever
techie.
I don't know what I've just done. What did I do that malfunctioned so much of me is malfunctioning? Well done, you are techie. Yeah, I think that idea of there being, and this is part of why we make the content we make and we're doing this, is we really want to take away that shame, especially around things like bulimia. There is, I think, a misunderstanding of there are eating disorders that are prettier or that are more accepted within society. And bulimia, things like bulimia or binge eating disorder, things like that, they aren't discussed, and they aren't discussed with the same level of honesty because there's so much shame.
I hate to tell you, Lily Evangeline, I don't know whether you were there during the Naughty's early 10s run of glamorised eating disorders, but the pro-Anna world in the Naughty's 10s was an experience to live through as somebody who was very eating disordered at the time.
Oh my God. This was the problem for me, that kind of era. It normalised everything. Yeah. There is something, again, trigger warning on a weight here, thing that really impacted me that I don't think I've ever told you even, which is I was a big Scrubs fan.
Learning things today.
I know, right? I was a big fan of Scrubs. And
I know exactly
you
what
do
you're
know
about
what this
to say.
is.
No, it's more
you
than
just
I know
know what it's
exactly
going to be.
Because I was there at the same time.
You were there at the same time. No, okay, well, shout out if you like Scrubs, because honestly, what a fantastic show. But the thing is, there was a comment made by Elliot Reed about being, I think it's under £100. And she was just talking about she was panicking about being over £100 of weight. And that for me, people, I don't know, I hadn't, that became a number in my head at quite a young age. I don't even remember because I was watching Scrubs quite young. And that became a number that I was like, oh, okay, so people shouldn't be over that number. And I won't lie to you, team, I'm not sure I've ever seen a number that low on the scale. I won't go into what I am, we won't talk exact weights here and things.
Most people haven't.
But that is the weight of a child, or somebody who's very, very small who doesn't weight train. So, but this was so normalised. And in my head, that wasn't even a question. And so it was a really insidious thing. Thank you. Yes, I haven't done the pronouns thing yet. Thank you so much. Yeah, my focus has been emotes recently. If you have any questions...
We should put that as like a sort of sub-ban or whatever the hell it is at the bottom at some point.
What do you mean? Oh, yes.
There's a banner and
you can do.
The under
yeah, I've been putting
a banner. I don't know whether that's a thing.
Do you have an? Would you like to see the under?
Good Lord.
I don't know. It's getting to a different kind of stream. But welcome new followers, welcome new viewers. We are talking all things disordered eating today. So trigger warning in place. Welcome new follower. Fantastic. I said it and one appeared. That's brilliant. Nightbot is behaving. Yes, we're doing our best with it. And also let me know, I had been putting banners up at the top. Now, because I've just rushed in from London and then eaten some Itsu instant noodles, just madly on my sofa, like trying to get my dinner in. I haven't had time to make a banner today, but let me know if that is something that's helpful for you in general. If you have any questions about any of the stuff we're talking about, please do let us know. We will try and pin them. I am trying to make a command of questions, but honestly,
there's
a lot going on right now.
Life's busy.
So if you have questions or if you have thoughts that you want to share with people, let us know in the chat. So let's have a little look at what we've got here. There was one that was really interesting, which is how did your eating disorder and your bipolar interact? Because you've talked about comorbidities before.
Yes.
And one of the things I was going to talk about is what is it? And again, it's a very personal thing that you don't have to answer.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But I was going to say also, what is it that eating disorder, specifically bulimia and that cycle, what did it give you?
Oh, God. So the thing about eating disorders is that there's a lot of sort of accepted wisdom around, particularly, I think, anorexia, of the sort of like the stereotype of it being sort of a lot of control issues and sort of maintaining control while the rest of your life is going to bits. Bulimia, there is just not as much sort of accepted norms of what bulimia is supposed to sort of connote for a person as a personality or anything like that. And I think I don't really go in for the idea that eating disorders are sort of like type A's or type B's or personality.
I don't think I go in for type A or type B.
No, I don't really go for that personality space anyway. But there is an interesting thing of like I started developing bulimia when I was about 9, 10ish. And the thing about somebody so that young developing an eating disorder is that it's quite hard to take that in isolation. There's probably something else going on, which hindsight 2020, yeah, and the rest. But the bipolar and sort of the mood disorder part of it meant that my eating disorder got hilariously exacerbated, particularly when I was manic, like impulse control being poor and then having impulse binges, for example, like that was a big part of my life. And particularly when I was then depressed, like the shame and secrecy around that got tripled. And also the thing about particularly bulimia is that it's a disorder that I think is very heavily stigmatized, even more so than I think a lot of the other things. Like in my personal experience, bulimia is one of the things that I've experienced being most stigmatized, partly because like there is a very human thing, which is vomit is icky. Like not to put too fine a point on it, people really struggle with binge eating. The idea of like inducing vomiting is something which, because a lot of human beings have experienced vomiting and it's a fundamentally unpleasant thing to do. So there's a sort of idea of, well, that's going to feel analogous and therefore it's sort of the same thing, and there's a disgust reflex that goes with that. And it's not, I don't judge anybody for having that disgust reflex, because God knows I have it for myself. Like it's a very ugly disorder. And it's one of those things which is a specifically ugly experience to have and to interact with. And I don't see a need to pad that out particularly. Like, that just is what it is. And I'm not saying that in a way like I'm still ashamed of it or anything like that. It's just objectively true. And I, particularly when I was depressed like that, as you can probably imagine, the disgust at myself for needing that as a behavioural set was pretty significant. I was also, for myself, my bulimia was very much connected to self-punitive behaviours and effectively as a type of self-harm mechanic for myself. It had other lead-ins as well, but that was at its core, and that realisation actually really helped in recovery, was realising that was kind of a lot of it was springing from was I hated myself and I wanted to manifest that in some way. There's also the flip side of that, which is I was experiencing incredibly intense emotions, like all the time. But like bipolar whacks up your emotional temperature to well off normal charts. And bulimia is a fantastic way to externalise a lot of the incredibly loud emotional landscape that I was existing within. And that again became very difficult to extricate itself from my mood disorder. Like that's really tricky. Like when I couldn't deal with the things that were happening inside my head, I needed something to translate it out, and that was one of the methods by which I did so.
Which I think, in reflecting back, is what sometimes people talk about with self-harm. Again, trigger warning for lots of things on this particular stream, but it is that externalization of a world that is now too loud.
Yeah.
And how do you make something even louder so you can focus on that?
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's quite repetitious what you're doing with
and also ritualistic as well.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain,
and habitual.
Yeah. Very, very much so. And that, again, it sits in the brain as like a different way of it wasn't even slightly controlled, and nor did I think it was. Like, there wasn't, except for like when I was very, very early on in that particular bulimic journey, there was never a point where I really was able to kid myself that I had any aspect of my eating disorder under control. Not even a little bit. Like, I fully knew I was off the rails. And I didn't care. And that was the thing that was interesting, was I was exactly cognizant enough to know it was a problem, and cognizant enough to know that I didn't particularly, there was nothing I had to replace it, which meant that there wasn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. And that's often, I think, the thing with a lot of self-injurious behaviours, is a lot of the thing that's often lacking in conversation is, well, what do you replace it with?
Yes. Oh God, this is something, again, you're
If
guessing all my questions.
Then you need something to go in its stead. Also, I know we've got a lot of questions that have been going on as well in here, so we should probably get back into that. So
well, you were completely right, and I actually just want to pause there, because there was so much, and if I was doing a podcast, I'd probably have been making notes, because there were so many amazing things you said in there, including what do we replace these behaviours with, because these behaviours, I'm not too nice to you.
Fine.
You just literally bared your soul on a public stream for these good people of the internet.
Hello, good
and told
people of
things
the
that,
internet.
you've told me these things, but there was a point, like you say, in your life where you would never have discussed that and discussed what this thing, which was so deeply shameful for you, it was giving you something, and it was, you were using it for different ways, and part of the healing from and things like that, and the recovery only comes when you can know those things, and you can know what it is why you're doing things, and what it is you need to replace. And I think there is that misnomer that it's all about control, and especially when you have these comorbidities. I've seen someone also asking about how it interacts with dysphoria and dysmorphia. We'll absolutely be going into that. But I just, for anyone who's watching, by the way, we are talking disordered eating, and Em's just given a really detailed explanation of 16 years of bulimia, what that has done and what that gave you. And please shout out, can we get some love in the chat? You were getting some
very nice to me, and it's a lot, team.
Thank you everybody for hyping her up, because that is 100% correct. I know I say I'm proud of you a lot, but after so long with an eating disorder, there does come a time where people believe that they can't be fixed, or they are broken.
I will absolutely, to be clear, that's exactly why I'm talking about bulimia, despite a lot of the, I'm human. There's still a lot of shame I still carry for a lot of my bulimia. It was, like I say, it's a very ugly disorder, and my behaviours were quite ugly. That's one of the things that goes with it. But one of the reasons I do want to talk about is because I am now in that point where, like I say, I consider it in remission as opposed to recovered, because I think it's a lexical distinction I think is important, in the sense of when you've spent 16 years with an eating disorder, I'm not sure that ever fully leaves you. And I think about a lot of mental health, to be honest. I think there are certain things that pattern on your soul in ways that you're never going to fully get away from.
It leaves a mark, and it leaves behaviours. I'm also now going to do a thing, by the way. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm literally doing a live.
Okay.
Live on.
But there's also, I think, a lot of fatalism that goes into a lot of eating disorders, and that's a really important thing not to really subscribe to is there is recovery that's viable. Like I say, I was very, very, very severely unwell. Like, there were points when I was like very much binging and purging 50 plus times a day. Like, that's kind of for a degree of scale here.
That is,
like, I was,
did you say 50? 50?
50. Like,
50
I was
times
incredibly unwell. And I'm not saying that as sort of gotcha. I'm saying that as the scale of the problem versus I am now fully recovered and have been for 7 years. Like, that's an important thing. And a lot of people who I know who are in eating disorder, like, because I had a point on eating disorder ward very briefly, but that did happen at one point, is a lot of people who really don't think that eating disorder recovery is realistic or possible. And that is very much this is forever and ever, amen. And it's not. It's just not.
100%. And I didn't mean to diminish anything you were just saying. I've just done that thing where you have to go on social media and say, hi, we're live now, come and join us. Which looked just really like you were telling, some horrendous things about eating disorders, and I'm just there going,
it's fine, you're my little goblin king.
I thank you, I am the goblin king. I aged from a goblin prince. Chat blown up with them support. Thank you, everybody.
You guys are so sweet.
As it should. Like I say, it's one of the most incredible things, and it's, again, part of why when I asked about what kind of things we wanted to do for stuff like this and for generally, is because there is hope. And it is
we're doing
hope core. But the thing is, a lot of modern systems for eating disorders still have to catch up, and there's a lot, like, there is a lot of fascinating studies. We are not, by the way, medical professionals. We are purely talking here from lived experience. So if you're interested in that, please join us. Hello, Fifi. There she is. There's the cat. Like I say, I've got a Fifi emote just waiting to come out. It's just apparently it's going to be, we'll see if we can go faster. So Em is doing an incredible job. Like, I am incredibly proud of where you are, and you inspire me because I've had issues with a lot of this stuff. Thief, do you want to come say hello? Come say hello to the world. While we do this, shall we? Welcome, new follower. Also, I just wanted to shout out to anyone new in the chat.
Yes.
We had Nilam. Hello, welcome. If you are brand new,
about to jump on the side of the computer.
She's going to jump on the computer, and this will probably crackle the mic because this is what she does.
Also just said don't turn off the computer.
Yeah, she may turn off the computer accidentally, which is hilarious. Okay. Oh, hello.
I'm delivering a cat.
A cat has been delivered to me. Hey, baby. Hello. Oh my God, our next door neighbours literally brought round 2 kittens, tiny kittens the other day. It was, I'm still not over it. There were 2 tiny kittens that were just cuddles. Anyway, Vivi has joined us. Shall we have a little look at the first question we've got up here? So we've got, had a GP tell me straight to my face, my weight is normal and therefore I don't have eating. Been there.
Oh, been there.
Referred to a dietitian. What can I do? A weight. Can we still be heard? Muted.
Name.
Wait.
Why?
Fifi muted us. Can we be heard? Can we now be heard? Hopefully we can be heard. Let us know, chat. Can we be heard? We might be able to be heard. Yeah, we're back. Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, Fifi, this is why we tried to get her to stop jumping on the computer, but she has a tendency to do things. Just a shout out. Thank you so much for the hype train. Yeah. That's amazing. And for the subs. We are so grateful. Thank you. Yes, that is Fifi. She is the Fifi the Amazing, who appears and turns things off. So yes, in terms of GPs, it's really difficult. Is there anything you can do? Food diaries, mood diaries?
I mean, we've clearly got food diaries already going, which is a really good start. In terms of weight is normal, like, in many senses the diagnosis is less important than the support you need to be able to recover, and that's something which I think is really important for me. If you're not able to get sort of the shiny badge of diagnosis, that's not the deal breaker here. Being able to talk to a dietitian about what you're actually doing and what that means for you, like, I think the difference is not just the what you're doing, but what that is giving you is the second half of that conversation, and it really helps in building out a diet plan with your dietitian that is actually going to help you move towards recovery. Pausing a second because hi.
Oh my God, Northbin, you are being so generous. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. That is incredible. Oh my gosh, we've been so overwhelmed by the love we felt here. Like amazing. I say, I keep doing my absolute best to get our subs all the stuff that just like we will do our best to make sure there are, subscriber only stuff if we can get it. However, as always, we really want this to be available for everybody. That's why there's ads. I'm sorry if there are ads. Again, if you do subscribe, you don't get us with ads. However, we do understand totally that not everyone's in a financial position, which is why we're so grateful for the gifting. You're
helping us being able to
incredible.
do this as well, which is a really beautiful thing of you, and you're all sweethearts.
Thank you. And so yeah, to kind of build on what you've just said as well, the thing about what is it giving you, and also just that ability to notice when you were thinking about things, because this was something as mentioned earlier, is how much space disordered eating can take up, both in your head and in your life. And it's you might just see for a day and notice how many times you're thinking about things like calories or food, or when you're worrying about like how many. You don't need to, maybe I dread to think, get a clicker and keep a tally. Oh my gosh, thank you.
God,
Peanut, you will be immortal. You will be
Peanuts
immortalised.
and not beans.
We've got beans and
Otter,
peanuts.
you
This is
guys
doing
are
well.
Sweethearts.
Thank you, everybody. And well, oh my gosh, there's okay. I don't think there's anything I can actually say other than just I am just so thank you.
Yes.
I think they just enjoy leaving us like this when we're like, I don't know how to.
This is mature and articulate over here.
And they said it's a nice accent, and we are very appreciative. But currently, we're doing that insane accent. We do need a peanut emote specifically, and thank you for cheering. We shall do. I shall make a peanut.
To join the
don't
potatoes.
worry. Well, I'm saying maybe the bits become peanuts,
nice
and then well, we're talking about satay. What do you do with potatoes and peanuts? And I was saying satay.
We also have leeky, so we have leeks as well.
We have leeks as well. We're doing
we have
well.
A decent soup.
We're getting
together.
We got a real soup. Oh, thank you, everyone. I don't actually know what to do with myself or anyone. Thank you. Every time there's a goal, you break the goal, and it's going off the charts. Thank you. So yeah, okay. Wow, thank you. We were talking about really deep, intense, insane things, and you guys are just doing the most incredible. You've got the angry one. There is also have I shared the where's this? You can get this one.
Yes.
This is me right now.
Yeah.
There you go. There's also a matching M face with the love hearts for the eyes.
I'm also really obsessed with the fact the only one we've got is M Rage.
I love that we've got M Rage and Robyn Love. We've also got M Love. That will come up
eventually,
and then we'll just have various forms of potatoes.
I'm rageful more than anything. That's part of my DNA.
And this is there's just a picture of that one from Kai is just you raging and me. No, it just wait. I think we need to do. What is the channel? The channel is literally just.
You fucking smashed it. You're extraordinary.
You guys are doing amazingly. Thank you so much for all of your kind work.
To do, dear?
I don't know. I'm failing.
Shall we try and go back to questions?
We should go back to questions. I was saying there's literally this is the chat. It's just me looking at M getting mad. That's literally the best things. Well, we're really grateful. So yeah. And like I say, if you're making notes of just noticing in your life, and this was the thing for me, if I go on a little talk now, is so much of my time was taken up thinking about what I was next going to eat. And part of the time I could kind of say, oh, well, I have celiac and I do have to think about that. And that's true. But I gave a lot of, that was an excuse. I won't lie to you. That really was an excuse. And I would spend that time, oh my gosh, Flu, thank you. Okay. So,
nobody wants us to get through a sentence.
Nobody wants us to get through a sentence. They just want us to cry. But anyway, so much of my brain, I'm just not going to look at it for a moment and I'll see your reaction. But like so much of my brain was taken up with this, and I would be doing calculations and it would just be automatic. I'd eat something and I'd be calculating the calories and I'd be saying, okay, what is that for my daily goal? I'm not saying this is a good thing, by the way. If you're just joining us, lots of trigger warnings apply.
God, no.
This was just something that it was just automatic. It was habitual. Is that I couldn't imagine a life where I was doing different things. And then there were other things like I was going to the gym, doing all these stuff, doing things. And again, where does normal sit? Because I'm sure some people say, oh, but keeping track of what you're eating, going to the gym is a very good thing. Yes, but when it can be a healthy part of your life. And actually, there are some people in this world that can track what they eat and be perfectly fine. They're quite rare. When you put that amount of focus on what you're doing for an extended period of time, it can slip into some really unhealthy behaviours. Otters! I love otters anyway, sorry, but it's because it's not just that are we really grateful? Yes, level 8 hype train. It's
Holy
not,
crap.
I know, it's not just that team, it's that whenever I see otter, I'm thinking of otters, and that it keeps distracting me.
Hype.
Yeah. So if you're struggling again, if on a very specific note, like we cannot give medical advice because we are not medical professionals. What I would say really helps me personally is finding foods I really enjoy. I know it sounds really almost like stereotypical is
Sorry, I was about to make a very
or habitual, replacing, like you say, replacing the habitual things with other habits. So like I have the same breakfast every single morning. It's a habit now. I don't have to think about it. Taking away the things to think about. And yeah, I'm like I say, I don't actually think we should go down the route of trying to give anyone advice on how to tackle it.
No, like I say, it's mostly the biggest part is identifying what your disordered eating is currently. If it's taking up space, what space is it taking, and why is it taking up that space? Because fundamentally, most disordered eating comes from somewhere, and I think there's a lot of chat that goes on about, I think, particularly societal influences on eating disorders and things like that. I'm not going to negate that entirely, but I do think it's important to understand that there is always a risk when people talk about current society is moving us towards more eating disorders, etc. There's always, I think, a little bit of a risk of diminishing the personal relationship with eating disordered behaviours. And I'm not saying that everyone is, but I'm saying it's a real risk factor where I think it gets superseded by, everyone socially is trying to get thin and therefore that's why eating disorders have that. No, like those things are feeding into, pun not intended, a pre-existing set of something that people are trying, like pre-existing set of lacks that people are trying to fill with eating disordered behaviours. That is the part that's important here. And
and it's also on a broader social level is what are eating disorders or disordered eating filling on a social scale? Why are people being encouraged?
And also what is disordered eating versus eating disorders, and where does the line sit? And also where does the line sit between also people who want to take care of their health and are perhaps losing weight in a way that is actually sanguine and can be misunderstood or 100%. Misinterpreted, etc., etc. Also leaky, oh my good sweet God.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I'm just going to say, and welcome Isa, welcome to the potato community.
Hi, team.
This is this is some
hype chest.
Hype chest. We've won an emote. Oh look, it's a cow.
A cow.
Oh, it's fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Choo choo with the cat, sorry. So is an
also,
animal.
yes, the fairy lights are fabulous.
Thank you.
And thank you. I love our bookshelves. As I say, our bookshelves.
They are our bookshelves, but the books.
They're mine.
If they were ever once mine, they are now what is mine is hers, and what is hers is also
the books are mine.
Hers. But this is green. This is the decaf green tea rooibos that I was drinking the other day. Part of the reason called this crazy cafe is please do rock up with a drink and let us know what it is, because this is very much a chilled out tea and chat.
We talk about the crazies here.
We do. We talk about the crazies.
When we were first talking about this space, actually, when we were first talking about the channel, it was very much a Robyn sort of going, oh, it's going to be like tea and lovely vibes and all the rest, and I'm here going, what I really want to get is the vibe of what I got in university with my absolute favourite supervisor, where we end up going to a pub and getting pissed on G&Ts, basically yelling at each other, in a very loving, very genuinely very loving, very, very wholesome kind of way, but it's very much my energy is much more I love you so much I'll yell at you kind of vibe.
This is why we have the angry emote, respectfully, is I love you so much yelling. Also, a shout out, all books are M's, all books. You could be the goddess of books. I would love that.
To be. Sorry, if I'm a dragon, then I'm hoarding.
This is your hoard.
Oh, Nothbean, what a delight you are.
What has Nothbean said? G&T, nice, very, very nice. G&T is very valid.
I'm mostly a vodka and Coke girl, but I do love a G&T.
I drink like a pirate. I like mead and rum, but I don't drink much, which is not like a pirate.
And I love my books.
I'm
loving the love for my books.
This is only, like I say, you're only seeing a tiny amount.
Yeah, this is a fraction.
This is 2 bookshelves. We have another 2 billies. We have another bookshelf, a little one with a lot of like playtext and stuff, and then we've got books still not everywhere.
But yes, three worth more of them.
But to be honest, talking about drinking, you don't drink. I drink alcohol on very rare occasions, but I prefer a cup of tea and I prefer soft drinks and things because it's kinder on my tummy. But yes. We were talking about so many useful things, and now I get so distracted.
Yes, we can.
Oh, it's one of those things. One day, can we stream this book? Yes, we will do that. I think we should do M's book club, and it's just you picking a book and just talking to people about your book.
I'm going to talk about my favourite books and go completely nerdy on stream.
They would love it. I think you're not understanding. This is why people watch.
That the vibe?
That is the vibe. Let us know. Okay. Is that the vibe? It's about different types of EDs. Yes, of course we can, Ollie. So thank you. So
that's a really sensible question.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So we are talking.
Also duly noted on the book club was absolutely fucking yes. Let's do that.
Ollie, we're talking about the EDs we've just been talking about are bulimia, because that is what you have experience with, and me is a more generalised disordered eating. I'm
actually going to take back a sec, which is actually for people who are completely new to this field. Just because we're throwing terms around like bulimia and anorexia, etc., where people may not actually know fully what those actually are, particularly because I think there's a lot of social understanding of what these look like or might be like, but let's properly take a step
Yeah,
back.
let's do a little 101.
Yeah, which is hi. Let's talk about eating disorders. We love this. So there are a number of different eating disorders and a number of different eating disorder subtypes. So I'm basically just going to do a little bit of a once-over of some of the major types. I'll try and cover everything I can, but there are quite a few. So starting off with anorexia, which is, I think, the one that probably most people have heard of or have interacted with in some way. Anorexia literally comes from, I think it's the Greek for lack of appetite, and it is fundamentally people who significantly limit their intake with a view to losing a significant amount of weight. Diagnostically speaking, it is one of the eating disorders that has a actual diagnostic recognition of what BMI you need to be under or the amount of weight that you've lost within a severely limited time. Like fundamentally it is meted on the you are doing something very dangerous and unhealthy with your eating, and like that's like there are ways to measure that quantitatively rather than just qualitatively via behaviours. Bulimia is characterised by episodes of binging and episodes of purging, which is binging is eating a significant volume of calories in a very short space of time, and then self-induced purging. Purging is often self-induced vomiting. It can also be through diuretics, laxatives, or often exercise, although I believe that also can fall under a different subtype. Either way,
the idea of removal of these things from body.
there is also a crossover, which is anorexia binge purge subtype, which is anorexia, but you also have some bulimic streaks in there, as it were.
Binge eating?
Binge eating disorder, which is the binging without the purging part of the bulimia. They're fundamentally, in some ways, kind of twin conditions. A lot of eating disorders are kind of all siblings to each other. It's quite important to kind of recognise that. Pica, which is specifically eating things that are non-food stuffs. So like eating plaster dust is actually quite a common one, I believe it is. Or eating hair can often be one, which again, it often falls in tandem with other types of hair chewing and trichomania kind of symptoms. ARFID, which is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, if I'm remembering the acronym correctly.
Very nicely done.
Thank you. I did that on the fly, and I genuinely was getting halfway through that going, do I remember that? Which is a eating disorder which is specifically, I mean, as the name suggests, avoiding and restricting specific food types, often to do with sensory issues or a fear of contamination. There are a couple of different subtypes for ARFID. I think there are 3, and I know one's fear of contamination. One is sensory, like inability to handle it sensory, and there is another, but I can't remember what it is. Sorry, I'm doing this all very much on the fly.
Yeah, I'm just so impressed here. I have nothing to add. You're doing
EDNOS, which is eating disorder not otherwise specified, which is this is an eating disorder, but it doesn't fall into any of the above camps. There is also, I'm about to get there, there are also a couple of other subtypes of these, including anorexia athletica, which is a specific type of anorexia which is characterised by excessive exercise as a way of managing caloric intake. So rather than necessarily, it can be sometimes both, but you'll see anorexia athletica as being people who restrict their food intake, but not to the same kind of degree of losing weight, and are instead, for example, putting on significant degrees of muscle, or trying to put on muscle, or are doing some sort of bastard child of both of the above. Anorexia athletica is quite difficult to diagnose because it can often look like people who are trying to cut, for example, within a weightlifting kind of program. Those kind of things are actually quite similar.
And it's really complicated, that one.
And you need quite a good psych to be able to capture the differences between them. There are differences in how those things manifest.
And a shout out here, if you're looking at bodybuilders thinking it's healthy, please, bodybuilders themselves will tell you the level of restriction and things like that is not a healthy sport to be doing. Sorry, just a shout out. Yeah. Also, slight side note, if you ever see me doing this, it's something that I do because I struggle to keep a lot of thoughts in my brain at one time.
Also, thank you. Yes, it is lack of interest. Now you've said that, you're completely correct. Thank you in the chat for that.
Thank you. If you see me doing this, it's because I put a pin, I do an imaginary pin, and I pin it to something I can see, because then I pin the thought to something I can see. It's just a small hack that I found so useful when I'm trying not to interrupt people, but I've had a thought. I don't know, I don't normally talk about that one, but yeah, if that's helpful.
Also, thanks guys for letting me absolutely just
It was an M rant.
We should absolutely,
we should get a thing when we're on an M rant that people can like M rant. So yes, the thing I wanted to mention there is there's a couple of other things
also,
to think
if I missed any, by the way, feel free to drop them in chat, because I do know them, but I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. So.
I was going to do a shout out for something that isn't necessarily an official. Oh, welcome subscriber, thank you so much. Something that isn't necessarily official, but you might have heard the phrase bigorexia. Now this is not something that is an official term or anything like that, but if you've seen it around, you're wondering what it is. It's often the idea that people they see themselves as smaller than they are and want to get bigger and bigger muscles. It's often referred to in men, and it's something that kind of in the growing subculture of eating disorders among men, you might see that sort of phraseology. So if you're thinking, it's not that I think I'm too, it's not that I think I'm too fat, it's that I think I'm not muscly enough. This also sort of all fits under that category. I also want to say about body dysmorphia and body dysphoria.
Give me 1 second, because floof, yes, that is anorexia athletica.
Yes.
Just so you're aware. Just wanted to do it before we end, because body dysmorphia and
Yes.
dysphoria are slightly,
Yes.
they're often related to eating disorders, but they are not, despite a lot of belief to the contrary, an obligatory part of it.
Yes.
It is very rare to see anorexia without some degree of body dysmorphia. I was bulimic for 16 years and did not experience body dysmorphia. I knew exactly what I looked like, I just didn't like it.
Very
Whole
fair.
different ballgame. But let's, in terms of definitions of body dysmorphia, dysphoria, do you want to tackle that, or shall I?
I'll give it a go and then correct me when I'm wrong.
Go for it.
This is
See
essentially...
when. You might get it all right perfectly first time.
Thank you,
I
babe.
trust
But
you,
this
dear.
is a good description of our relationship, is I'm going to give it a go, correct me when I'm wrong. Thank you. So the reason I bring up both of these things together, dysmorphia and dysphoria, is because there is a bit of a confusion about what the two mean, how they are different, are they interrelated, and also because within the trans community, when we see things like gender dysphoria, there is also, and please don't quote me on this one because I don't have the statistics in front of me, there is quite a high rate of eating disorders within the trans community. Now, part of that is because of the way that fat works and stuff like that, but we can go into that later if people are interested. But body dysmorphia is not seeing your body, and again, make sure I'm getting it the right way around, it is seeing your body from differently from how the world around you might see it. Now, it stems from the sort of, you aren't able to have an objective look at your body. So you look in the mirror and you might see it differently to how other people see it. Now, it is always worth bearing in mind that because you're viewing through your eyes into a mirror, it always might be slightly distorted, in the same way you might be looking down at a body where other people are not, and things like that. However, this can be very, very extreme. This is that you're seeing yourself and, you're thinking, oh, you can't see the fact you have ribs. The ribs are showing and things like that.
It's also a really good example for people who haven't really seen or interact with people who have body dysmorphia. I think it's often quite easy to see on extreme plastic surgery.
Yes.
Where if you have a look at those are people who are genuinely seeing something different to what you're able to see when you look at them. And it's very interesting to look at interviews with those kind of people. It's just easier to see those in those kind of communities. It gives you a really good insight into what the mindset is and what people are actually seeing when they look at themselves, and versus what you feel like you're seeing when you look at somebody. Yeah. It's a useful touch point if you're not used to what that can be like as an experience to be around.
100%. And like I say, it isn't always about fat on your body. It's about literally what your body looks like. Now, when we say dysphoria, I'm often referencing gender dysphoria. And the key difference for me is that gender dysphoria, you know what your body looks like. It's accurate, but as you just said, you just don't like it. And it feels there is an innate wrongness and mismatch between your inner self-perception of your body and what your body then looks like. And you know that. You know that you're there, especially, so for example, I get gender dysphoria around my chest. Like, I am AFAB, and that meant that at a certain point in puberty, I developed breasts. And I have always felt a great discomfort around that, a sense of wrongness and a sense that this isn't what my chest is meant to be like. Now, I know exactly what it does look like. It's not that I'm seeing, because, fun fact, you might not have either of these things. I have both. And there is a difference, because there are points where around, for example, my stomach, I don't know what that looks like. Honestly, I'm trying at the moment just to try not looking in mirrors and much. I'm actually, it's really funny as we're doing this, I'm realising how much further ahead you are in your journey than I am, and how much more articulate you're able to be about certain experiences. But I'm aware that I don't necessarily see elements of my body in that way. But I see my chest, I know it, it's there, and I'm sure it would be lovely if I was a woman, but I'm not. And I have this real sense of discomfort. And part of the way this all interlinks is because when breasts are all made up of breast tissue, they're made up of fat, and they're made up of sometimes water and things like that. But when I gain weight on my chest, which does happen, it can happen with increased food intake or anything else, the dysphoria gets so bad. And I realised, I've said it in the previous one, as part of the reason I struggle so much with my eating is because I use it to control the dysphoria. Sorry, I've gone off topic.
No, it's fine. I'm actually, one of the things I just wanted to do in terms of dysphoria and the difference between it, like, just because I think it's useful to give analogues again, it's been a little while since I read this, and I don't know whether current scientific documentation is up to date on this. So if I'm incorrect, then I will go fact check myself. But I remember reading a piece at one point where dysphoria ends up sitting in more similar neurological camps to things like phantom limb syndrome, where it's very much the brain is aware that there was a limb there, it still thinks that there is one, the perception internally is that there is in fact still a limb there present, but the physical reality has not caught up to what the brain is doing. So that's, I think, the better analogue I can find for that, which is there is an internal understanding of what the body should be doing, and the physical reality of that and the internal reality of that do not actually match. There is a disparity between those two situations. So I think that's, like I say, I think that's a useful...
That's so helpful and fascinating.
Thank you. Like I say, I remember reading a little while ago that there are actually... Neuropsychiatry is still a very young field, but I did actually end up reading something along those lines about 18 months, 2 years ago, so I don't know how up to date that is or whether that's been looked into further. So,
and the other thing that I think
any neuropsychiatrists in the chat, please feel free to credit me.
Oh yeah, and if you are, please feel free to say hi, because we think you're really cool.
Really awesome. Neuropsychiatry is an amazing field.
So there's and if you were doing something, if you had to do a medical profession, you'd be so, oh my god, you would devour that. Anyway. Bye Fifi, she's going back up the stairs in a way that is adorable. Anyway, back onto topic. So the reason I bring up dysphoria and dysmorphia as well is because one of the most common questions I got is aren't those things just the same? And one of the big criticisms in a lot of this isn't to be talking trans and identity issues, but a big thing that people who are gender critical or maybe in TERF spaces say to people is, you just have to learn to accept your body. We don't, one of the things I hear regularly is we don't give anorexics liposuction to help them. So why would we give people who are struggling with body gender dysphoria, why would we adapt the bodies? And my answer to that question is, if liposuction for anorexics had the same recovery rate and health rate, then we would consider it. Because gender-affirming care, as we've seen in the majority of studies, has a more positive outcome. Now, the other thing about dysphoria and dysmorphia that I want to kind of pull apart here is, if people have gender dysphoria, they tend to get sort of, if they've, chest dysphoria, for example, they tend to sort of get top surgery and then it's sort of done. Because they go, they might get, what's it called? If they're not alterations are what you do to clothing. It might be alterations. They might get sort of, if something went wrong in surgery, or maybe they need to kind of, if they've got doggies or something that they need to deal with, but they don't then go on to get another and another and another surgery. Whereas we see people who are struggling with body dysmorphia and they don't understand what they look like, they'll get one thing done and then they get another and another and another, because they aren't ever seeing what's actually there. Whereas people with gender dysphoria, they see it. They know what's there. It's not what, as you say, it's this phantom limb. And if you could give somebody back their phantom limb, you probably would do it.
And if you're struggling to remember the difference between them, I tend to find that dysmorphia is it morphs when you look in the mirror. That's the difference. Whereas dysphoria is very much that's a harder one to gather. It's just that's the internal experience. But the dysmorphia is very much I'm looking at it and it's morphing as I'm looking at it. That's
sorry, my brain just gave me dysphoria is for the dolls and the guys. Dysphoria is for us. No, sorry, I can make trans jokes. I'm allowed.
You are.
Yeah, so that is a really good way of thinking about it as well, is whether you can actually see yourself objectively. And then when we're talking about treatments, of course, that is where it's different, because these have different
different phenomena.
Yeah.
So they're going to have fundamentally different treatment pathways.
Different treatment pathways and different treatment outcomes.
Which I would also argue is very similar in nature to a lot of eating disorders themselves, where a lot of people treat a lot of eating disorders as, well, they're an eating disorder and they fall under the same banner, therefore they all must be fundamentally the same kind of treatment process. And I'm like, it's fucking not, even a little.
No, it's not. And this is
and like I say, after a certain point, if somebody has an eating disorder, the chances are there is something else underpinning that.
It is a misnomer to think, it's just about wanting to be skinny. Like, if any of you are joining this sort of brand new, we're talking eating disorders, please be aware of trigger warnings. But yeah, the idea that people just have eating disorders because they want to be skinny, or because they want to be muscular, or just because of that.
And it drives me absolutely feral as well, because anybody who's bulimic is not underweight. We're all
some
overweight.
People are
very
few, but it's very rare.
Rarely. And it's almost, if you are, then you're almost always sitting in the anorexia BP subtype. Yeah. Like, that's the reality of it. Like, bulimia,
and it's so hard to get help.
Bulimia is genuinely by its nature a disorder where I dare you to try and lose weight on it. I tried very hard.
That is not an actual dare. I'm just going to say it.
Obviously,
caveats apply. I'm sorry. It's the internet, and sometimes
people take things literally.
People take things literally on the internet.
Yes. No, I mean that in the sense of it's not. That's just not how this fucking works. Like, that's.
No, it's
a nightmare, and it drives me feral because people have such a specific idea of what eating disorders look like and what eating disorder treatment necessarily needs to look like, and it's what particularly annoys me about then cutting out a lot of people who are binge eating disorder from a lot of the equation, because it kind of makes sense that Pika and ARFID are going to fall down separate sort of treatment pipelines, because people go, oh, well, they feel a little bit different. Whereas anorexia, bulimia, and then the forgotten sibling of binge eating, very much yet kind of left to the wayside. Like I say, ARFID and PICA do kind of, people make sense about that as different things, because it almost feels like it comes from a different place.
Yeah. That goes from a different place, and it's often dismissed in different ways.
They absolutely get dismissed in radically different ways. Like I still remember the TV shows that used to do like Freaky Eaters that were just like basically were just like, let's bully people with pica.
And it's also, it is so dangerous. Thank you, Saoirse. That's something I was going to say is the eating disorders have massively high mortality rates. Like these things will kill you.
Like from a bulimia perspective alone, I was bulimic quite early, and it delayed the onset of any form of menstruational period for me by, given my family average versus when I actually started having anything menstruation wise, by about 5 years. Like, and that was despite the fact that I was ostensibly very healthy. Like that was one of the things, like I have no right to be as physically okay as I am after how unwell I was. I've been quite fortunate, my teeth are a little bit fucked, but that's to be expected. And like there are a lot of things that aren't great in my body, and there are impacts that I'm only discovering 10 years after the fact, and I'm probably going to for the rest of my life. I cannot overstate how fundamentally existentially dangerous eating disorders are, and that's not just anorexia. Anorexia is the sort of the most visible one that feels dangerous, but bulimia is very much every time you're purging, you're kind of rolling the dice on things like esophageal rupture, and that's not a pretty way to die.
No, it's not. And I'm debating putting this to a mature content feed just because I'm aware. This may actually need
to be. Sorry,
we'll see how we go, team. But please, and this is
please be really careful.
Please be so careful, because we don't want to sugarcoat things, and we also don't want to patronise you. I personally dislike a lot of the words that are kind of used instead of things like death and stuff like that. Also, welcome Steampunk Dragon Master. It's lovely to see you. And yes, thank you, Izzy. Oh, bless you. I'm glad. This is the stuff that we're talking about here. Like, we think it's really important, and we think it's important to be honest about these things, and be honest about the risks, and be honest about, the fact that these things are incredibly challenging to live with and live around. This is the other thing is, obviously we've both supported each other with our, requisite eating problems. And I was there for you for a lot of those years, and I had to kind of deal with what that, my fear for you, my genuine frightening and kind of not wanting to monitor or police you, or not knowing how I could help. And the answer is, with so many of these, if it's that severe, you have to help them get to therapy. And I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about what the reverse is like, or if that's not a place you want to go tonight.
Oh God, I really struggle with, because I think I've often been the one that's iller. I think I've often really struggled with trying to help you, in particularly with your eating and things like that, because it's just I don't have the I don't I don't have the wherewithal to be able to support in the way that I'd like to be able to support, and also manage myself, and I have to be responsible for my own mental health in the very much you need to put your life jacket on before helping other people, and it tends to be very challenging for that. And also, we probably, both very funny and have a sense of. I'm glad we have a sense of humour about it.
We have to. I think that these sorts of things. This is what gallows humour is.
Yes.
Like, it's all right. Thank you. Thank you, Skylar. I appreciate that. And also, if you guys need a break,
please do.
Please, if you walk up with peanut butter, don't worry, Bizarre Peanut. We will take care. And like I say, part of the reason we bring in the jokes and we bring in the gallows humour is because we are in a position now where.
Sorry, I just got the
You just got the peanut butter joke, didn't you?
No, I just got a really grim follow-up from that. But
don't.
I don't think I should do on a non-mature feed.
Well, we shouldn't bring things up twice.
Well, yeah. It's just genuinely peanut butter's a bitch to vomit.
Don't. I'm changing that. I'm going to change.
Am I not allowed to?
How do I change the feed? I'm just gonna tick us for mature content today.
I single-handedly made Robyn put this to mature.
I actually don't know if I can.
So sorry. I wasn't bulimic for 16 years to not be able to make vomit jokes.
Apparently, I don't meet the minimum requirements to change things. Collect content. Okay, here we go. What we're talking about, tobacco use, mature. It's not a mature game because we're not doing that. Oh, we actually don't fit a lot of politics or sensitive social issues. Not really. We're trying to work out if we're significant. We're not really vulgar. I mean, maybe
I'm definitely profane in my swearing, but
yeah, okay. In which case, I'm not sure we fit some of them. So, like, I'm gonna keep this here for now. But please, obviously, Twitch, if you're watching, the gods of Twitch, we are not trying to, muscle this into the wrong place.
sensitive social issues.
Sensitive social, maybe I can pop that in.
Do we want to do safe rather than sorry for this one, and we can have a look at parameters
if
for
any,
next time.
if yeah,
that's probably the right option. Content classification further down.
Ah, yes, thank you. Sorry, I've just done that wrong before.
Yeah.
We'll pop that on
just in case, like
just
not the certification, just the tag 18+ in your tags. Oh, that's all it is. Aha.
What do we do? Just chatting categories.
Put the tag in.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
That's a better option. Let's just do that.
So I go 18 plus mature language.
18 over. That all feels like it's going to be people doing very specific things.
Yeah, I feel like we're not doing that. Okay, team. For now, I've put it in. Like I say, I've put it in that we've got some mature things going in there, but we will have a triple check of the guidelines. Like I say, and also because I really believe that I think Twitch is 16+ in the UK anyway, so people watching this shouldn't be below the age of 16. And a lot of the issues we're talking about, we were already well into this by the time we were 16.
Yeah, like that's often part of the problem is the fact that I grew up and I was very eating disorders during the peak of the pro-Anna, pro-Mia nightmare that was in the noughties. And I was very involved in a lot of those circles, which is one of the reasons that I kind of want to talk about it, because it's really, really complicated to talk about what those environments do, particularly in a world where I'm aware that there is a resurgence of a lot of those.
There are.
And it's an incredibly dangerous subculture. Like, it's one of those ones which like I say, I've been in there. I've been in pretty extreme places in those communities. And God Almighty, you've got to be careful. No, it's actually fine. It's mostly I hate thinking about myself as a 13, 14, 15-year-old who was involved in those circles and was involved in incredibly adult conversations on things that I wish I hadn't known about. Like, it's one of those things where I go, my eating disorder started as a child's way of dealing with a brain that was louder than I could cope with, and developed into, with the help of the internet, something which was a much more complicated beast to unravel. Like, if I'd been left to my own devices, I still would have been bulimic. Like, there is no question in my mind that if I hadn't had access to the internet and all of these things, I still would have ended up with an eating disorder. But the context of what it did to my relationship with my body as a growing woman was a very different problem. Like I say, I didn't actually have dysmorphia, but I was taught to hate my body. Like, I didn't hate my body, I was taught that way. And that's what those communities really do, is they think they take in a lot of people who are, like I say, I firmly believe that eating disorders are not a reaction to bodies. They are a reaction to a whole load of other things, where the body becomes the medium by which you are externalizing a set of other more complicated things. There are some exceptions to that, I have no doubt, but I genuinely do think that that's a pretty significant part of most eating disorders. I agree
with you, and I sort of want to say part of the reason
feeding that in a variety of different ways and finding different angles by which to feed that is a seriously dangerous problem, because it starts to bring in things that may not have originally been there.
I completely agree with what you've just been saying, and I just wanted to say part of the reason we're making this content now, thank you everyone for the stretches and posture checks, is we are trying to do this in that counter narrative. We know people don't talk about this, and we know that maybe, if you are struggling, you might not be able to talk to anyone about this. I do recommend, if you can, talking to people in real life, make sure you seek professional help.
Please do.
But if what you're doing right now is you're listening to this and maybe you're thinking, oh, there's things going on in my life and stuff like that, like, we are just trying to bring these topics out of the shame and into the open, so that you can see, we are two people, we're very honest, and like I say, I'm kind of just sitting here going, we're such at different points in this journey, and it's so prevalent, and you are not alone. And again, what is normal? But even so, the level of severity you're at, like, I think it is incredibly inspiring. And I'm really hoping that anyone who's currently in that position of thinking, I don't think I can ever get better, they can see you and see you are somebody who, while, we say it's in, you're in recovery or it's in
remission.
In remission, thank you. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've spent the day recording an audiobook and my brain is soup. And I just hope that people watching this know that you're not alone and that there is hope for recovery. And it is not just, it's not a complete life sentence of this will be exactly what your life is forever. And those communities that exist that are trying to find, I'm not in them. Would you say they're trying to kind of find community in their suffering?
I think more than anything, it's a set of desperately unhappy people who need to be able to talk to people who understand what it means to be that profoundly unhappy. And that's really, I think, like I said, I think that was just at the core of it. It was no matter, because one of the things that's very interesting, one of the things that was remarkably levelling is that while the social, I think, eating disorders get very competitive very quickly, and it's one of the things that's known for people who end up in eating wards and things like that, is that it ends up but the reason it gets competitive is because it's being in the company of people who understand so profoundly what it means to be that unhappy validates the actions you're taking to manage that unhappiness. So it's not just about sort of competing in a sort of a almost cruel kind of way. It becomes a case of the act of interacting with somebody who has the same problems as you and racing to the bottom in that way is a way of deeply validating the fact that there is somebody else who can begin to understand that pain, but more importantly, you're in some ways screaming for help a little bit louder than the person next to you. So it ends up sitting in two different places at once. And a lot of people like to think of it, I think, as often crabs in a bucket kind of thing, as, oh, well, we all want to be ill together. I don't think it's quite that. I think people want to be the sickest because they want to be heard. And people want to be around other people who are fighting for that same goal because it gives you that sense of, like I say, validation of the fact that the incredible pain that you're currently experiencing is real in some way. It's visible. It's something that other people can talk to and interact with. Like, that's the thing about externalizing it. You're externalizing it so somebody else can see it. And for my bulimia was kind of, and that's why I often think of bulimia and anorexia as very different mechanics, because a lot of my thing was I was steeped in secrecy and shame and a desire to disappear, and that is the opposite phenomena. And a lot of what I was then doing online was I was actually just trying to jump the fence because I wanted to be able to externalise in a way other people could see, but in a way that wasn't bulimia, because I had such a profound internal shame at everything I was doing. I was just going, hey, I can't seem to join the same club as you people who are all feeling the same thing as I am, but I can't get myself to be unwell in the same way as you. And it's such a bizarre mindset to get into. And this is kind of the reason I'm talking about this, because it's such a difficult thing. It sounds wild to talk about like years after the fact. But that's kind of why I'm doing it, because it's that it made perfect sense to me at the time. And talking about the logic underpinning it is very much I'm sort of going, no, it's not that I want to be anorexic, it's that I want to be seen as being this. And I want somebody to see that I am screaming at the top of my lungs and I can't be heard. And that was, I think, the story of a lot of my mental health, to be perfectly honest, was I was an incredibly, profoundly unwell woman who, I mean, one of the problems I often had with a lot of the rest of my mental health was I always sounded incredibly articulate. And it meant that I got dismissed a lot of the time when talking about my difficulties. Like, I sounded like this when I was, like, I still had this accent when I was manic. I still sounded pseudo-intellectual when I was manic. And people just sort of went, oh, well, you clearly that's just who you are. And I'm going, no, I'm dying. For the love of fuck. Anyway, sorry again, slight side rant there.
No, it's so true, and you're making me think. It is so true, and like you say, it's difficult then also trying to get help for you, because they'd be like, well, I'm trying to get help for you and saying she needs help, and they're going, but she's so articulate, and I'm going, yes, yep. I know, but if you don't help her, please help her.
I do sound too fancy to be unwell.
She does.
That's genuinely the story of my entire life. Was that you sound too fancy to possibly be, or more importantly, I mean, realistically, well, they all went as your attention seeking. Like, effectively, I'm a white posh sounding upper middle class girl in the UK in the tens, like with an eating disorder. Like, effectively, there were thousands of me, and all of us needed help. And I was one of the ones that sounded just about articulate enough to be well, you must just be making this up for attention. And I then, like, with hindsight, go back to well, if a kid needs attention that much that they're prepared to keep on doing this, maybe there's a problem.
Probably, yeah. There's something going on. It's interesting what you were saying about, desperately being a cry for help, because I think a lot of my eating issues when I was around sort of 16 at first anyway, is that wanting to be skinny enough that someone noticed there was something wrong, and wanting to be cared for. And this is the thing is, I'm not going to go, I won't go too deep into this because it sounds like I'm trying to do a therapy session on stream, but that desperate need to be seen as somebody unwell so that people will care for you, because you desperately need that care. And don't misunderstand us. We are not saying, if you are doing this because you want to be cared for and you want attention, we are not judging you for that.
It's also
that is in and of itself something that is difficult.
The insight to be able to name that phenomena as true. It took me a very, very long time to be able to name what my eating disorder was doing for me and why I had the thoughts that I did. And hindsight's 2020, and
2026 now.
Yeah, and bloody hard.
That's a really bad one.
But it's a lot of people with eating disorders will probably deny that. And I'd suggest that possibly that's because it's a very difficult thing to be able to notice in oneself, because it requires a level of insight as to a type of pain that is by its nature inarticulatable.
Yeah.
And also,
if you're going through this right now, you may not have the ability to have this level of insight. Like this is us looking back at something, as you say. And I'm sorry for that
7 years in the rear view.
This is absolutely, and it's why you're probably sounding more articulate than I am, because I'm in a different place with it, and I'm still starting that journey of working it out. And if you're taking anything from this chat, please take this idea of what is it that this disordered eating behaviour or eating disorder, what is it giving you? What need is it fulfilling? Or is it habitual? Is it one of those things that, and if you are trying to recover, you will still need to fill that need. Even if you could suddenly cut out an eating disorder tomorrow, that need will still exist and will still need to be filled. And if it's not being filled by one thing, it will, you've got to decide and try and find that conscious way of filling that need without the eating disorder.
And which, to be clear, this is also not a judgment thing. Like, you may not be able to do that. Like, I've talked to people with eating disorders for many, many years, and a lot of them, if they would ask, like, why are you anorexic, it would be because I want to be thin. Like, that's fundamentally beginning and end of the sentence. And that's not a problem. Like, it is very, very difficult to figure that out. Like, I didn't know until after the fact. Like, recovering from my bulimia I had a very weird experience with it, all things being equal. Because, like, I was unfathomably unwell for an incredibly long time, and then I recovered overnight.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not actually fucking kidding.
This.
I basically turned it off. And
like a light switch.
And the thing is that I say that now, but what it was multiple years worth of therapy handling the rest of the smoking wreckage of my mental health, until I basically reached a transition point where that was no longer necessary, because I had other functions that were fulfilling the same purpose. And so the bulimia, effectively, apropos of absolutely nothing, went. Like, I still don't know how I managed that, but like I say, it was a huge amount of work for multiple years worth of doing, effectively propping up all of the support structures to make that viable. Yeah. I am not as far as I'm aware, I'm not a particularly common story in that. Like, it's not actually particularly usual to just go, thunk, gone. Mm. But it is doable. Like, it's weird, but it's doable. And like I say, the thing in analysing it, I'm going, it's because I took the time to basically, like I say, set up a shadow system's worth of support and structuring for the rest of my mental health, so that when I pulled that piece out, the rest of my mental health stayed stable, so I didn't
That's
need
a good
to
way
fall
of
back
describing
into
it. Like, you've got a Jenga thing going on, you had to make sure everything else was propped up so that this piece was removed and it didn't collapse. Yeah. I can see, by the way, that you have acquired the other potatoes team. Well done, the emotes have gone through. I will, in fact, let's see if which ones have gone in. This is very amusing. So yes, we now have gay potato and non-binary potato. Everyone should have access. And Fifi, there we go. Fifi emotes in there. Yes, we've talked a little bit. So Lily, it's an excellent question about the bipolar.
And also,
she has talked a bit about that
in chat throughout. I'm just going to quickly shout out, a couple of people mentioned other comorbidities and the fact that their eating disorder made it a lot worse, which is completely normal and completely expected. Like, malnutrition is going to do a lot of bad things to your general neurochemical makeup. And if you have any other form of mental health issue whatsoever, which most people with eating disorders realistically do, that's going to exacerbate it pretty badly. Like, it becomes very chicken and egg after a point of was my mental health causing the eating disorder, or was the eating disorder causing the mental health regression? Like, who fucking knows? The point is they're very interlocked at that point, because by the time you've got to a point where you're malnourished, or even if you just, like, even if you're not necessarily malnourished, but you're not if you're not eating regularly, it's probably going to have knock-on effects on your sleep. It's going to have knock-on effects on what you're eating and the diversity of foods that you're ingesting.
And your gut microbiome.
I knew you'd say that. I don't
sorry.
really buy into the gut microbiome to the same extent as
I'm
Robyn.
not buying into it. I'm very
buying
interested into your... So gut microbiomes and how...
It's a bit woo-woo for me.
I know, but I'm celiac and my guts are an interesting thing for me. It is very woo-woo. It's very new science. I just want to shout out...
I'm not actually saying it's a bad thing. It's probably there's probably a lot of truth to it. I just don't know the science about it yet. So
Hi, Chloe online, by the way. Welcome to Potato World. And thank you everyone for enjoying these emotes. So yes,
and thank you, Leaky, for continuing to put in the warnings intermittently. I really thank you.
Really, really grateful. Yes, it is an emerging... Thank you.
I'm sorry, I stand 100% corrected.
It's just a really interesting emerging science is looking at kind of how our guts affect our brains and how, a lack of a diverse diet can impact the kind of chemicals you are making in your bodies. And I say
which,
chemicals,
to be fair,
by the way.
does logically hold.
And to do with your hormones. And this is something I'm going to say here. If you are someone with the sort of 28-day hormone cycle, that is going to affect...
28 days? Me and my PCOS are ex-PCOS ass.
PMOS now.
And, PCOS has changed
I just heard that in the same phrases. They changed it to drag queen. They changed it to POMOS.
I'm so delighted that PCOS changed the name.
So it's absolutely fine. It's just that there are lots of things that are going to impact your mental health.
Yes.
And we
should do an entire separate stream on like the impact of... Because for anybody who doesn't already know this, like I had major gynae issues until I lost several organs. This was entirely strictly a good thing, but we should definitely talk about it.
The losing the organ was the good thing.
Yes,
and it's very funny if people know it's absolutely fine. It's
organs plural.
Organs, yes, you did. This was hysterectomy. It wasn't just a bit of fun. Yeah. Also, it's amusing to me that we always have... People were talking the other day, they asked if I wanted top surgery, and I say, yes, at some point in my future, but financially. I was joking that you and I always have a body part removal fund going on at some point for something. Thank you, team. So, if you... Looking at mental health more broadly and how eating disorders impact... If you are changing what you're putting into your body, your brain is going to change. It's going to change. I'm sorry, I'm being really, really general here, but thinking of hormones as they are the chemical messengers that go through your body, fat is needed in order for them to deliver those messages. And if you aren't eating enough, like genuinely, if you aren't eating fat in any way, there was this interesting, wasn't there? There's always that study of, this
is
lady...
comfortably not my area of expertise.
I'm going
to cede the ground to you on this.
That's
one.
right.
I need to read up on this.
I'm digging into my personal trainer memories here, but fat is a very important thing for the delivery of sort of messages around your body and for the way that your body works. You do need, again, PT Robyn coming in here with my very basic knowledge of nutrition, is that your body, in the same way... Balance is good, team. Every few years, the media come along, and this is something I'd love us to kind of move into as we sort of have a bit more time left on the stream, is the media or the world will go through demonizing various food groups, and when they are demonizing when they're demonizing carbs, that's when you get keto, or that's when previously you got Atkins. When it's protein, that's sort of and again, this is not to say people who are vegan are doing that. It's more just that the rise of veganism go in when people start saying, protein isn't as important, and then of course that gets kicked back, and then you get fats. Fats aren't important anymore, and people go low fat diets. And actually, the fact is, you need all of these things, and you need fiber, and you need your body. Listening to parental creature Robyn here, is that a varied diet is great if you can get it. Now, if you can't, and a shout out to people in the chat here, we are not medical professionals. There are lots of amazing dietitians and nutritionists. I mean, dietitian is the profession, right? Whereas nutritionist, kind of anyone can be a nutritionist. I think dietitian is a degree. Double check that in the chat. But if you are struggling, that is when things like multivitamins and stuff are very helpful. If you're someone with sort of like ARFID, things like that, it's the making sure you are trying to get this varied intake because your body needs it. Because again, if you're not getting all of this, the brain can't do the brain thinking thing. Your brain takes so many calories just to exist. It is a wobbly, jelly-driven pool of calorie eatingness, and it likes carbs. It likes sugar. That's what your body will do, is it changes everything into sugar, and then it eats most of it's going to your brain. So if you're eating below a certain number, your brain isn't getting the food it needs, and yes, that will impact your mental health, especially if you have comorbidities like things like bipolar or mood disorders. This was all going somewhere, I promise. So thank you, everybody. I'm just having a quick look in the chat.
And yes, Lanugo's an interesting experience.
About dietitians, yes. Lanugo. You were so frightened, I think, when I... Yeah,
you at one point
started about Lanugo. So dietitians versus nutritionists, this is probably quite an important one, is that a lot of people can call themselves a nutritionist, having done short courses and things like that. Whereas dietitians that is a trained subject. That is, I think it's a university level.
Yeah.
From memory, and you have to be, and that's in the medical field. If you are struggling with an ED, you will most likely be referred to a dietitian. Now, there are also dietitians that will specialise in this area and who are used to working with you. If you ever have to go inpatient for something like that, you will work with specific dietitians. Yeah. They do know their stuff, but what's going to happen if this is you, by the way, you're probably going to sit there and go, they don't know anything. What are they talking about? They're not saying, because a lot of their guidance is going to genuinely be based in actual what your body needs, not what fitness influencers online and nutritionists online are saying what your body needs. This is one of my biggest problems, is information overload and analysis paralysis. There is so much information about what you should or shouldn't be eating, exercising, putting into your body, what supplements. For me, I get so overwhelmed by it online. And when a dietitian turns around and goes, you know, you don't need to worry about eating 5 times a day and getting 120 grams of protein or whatever. You just, what I want you to do is make sure you eat some kind of carb at breakfast, please, so that you have energy for what you're doing in the day, because you're exercising. So you need, and they're going to tell you, like, you know, if somebody turned around to you and said, oh, you should have, you know, toast for breakfast, and then orthorexia.
That's the one
we didn't mention orthorexia, which is ironic because it's, again, something I'm sort of slightly falling into. Again, celiac. So I ended up needing to do a lot of research into food. And so orthorexia, you know what, I'm going to hand the mic to you because you do really good definitions. If I can hand the mic to you for orthorexia.
Yes, orthorexia is a preoccupation with eating cleanly or correctly, where people with orthorexia tend to end up with quite limited food groups because effectively it's not consistently eating the right foods. It's often an idea of what rightness looks like taken to extremity. So this idea of, there are actually iterations of orthorexia that are much more sort of like, almost like I say, Atkins diet related, where it's very much people who think that carbs are the enemy and therefore restrict their diet to only keep in things that are specifically what they consider to be correct, or often, like I say, clean is the other definition. Like, there's a sort of, not quite subtypes, but they just kind of tend to fall into 2 camps worth. Orthorexia, I don't believe, is actually split into 2 separate definitions, but like I say, there are mainly 2, I'd say, manifestations of it. So yeah, it's a bit, like I say, because there isn't because most people aren't dietitians, and because there is a true superfluity of information about what the right things to eat are.
And so many rat studies. Sorry, I'm going to say that now. A lot of the information, if you see somebody coming online going, scientists won't tell you this, but in a study they found this, it's on rats. It is probably on rats. And you are not a rat. I'm just going to say that. Sorry, I have a pet peeve about mice studies. They're studies on mice. Rodent studies, and people go in and I'm going to stop.
Yeah, the scientific literacy being abused for various different purposes. It's an absolute pain in the
And
arse.
mostly people are trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
They're trying to sell you supplements.
Almost every single diet you see in this world, or eating plan that you see in this world, that isn't from a registered dietitian tailored for your life and your circumstances, is a fucking fad and is done to try and earn somebody somewhere money. Snake oil salesmen are trying
Carnivore diet. Also, keto, if you need to eat ketogenically, there is a tiny population for whom this is actually very important, which is if you have treatment-resistant epilepsy, which is why the ketogenic diet was created, because it can genuinely help in that case.
Yeah,
for everyone else, the drop-off.
Yeah. There are a lot of specific diets that are particularly good for particular things, but like I say, it's relative to the individual and is not something you should be doing at home. Like, for the love of God. Like, it's also people are made differently, and when I say it's individual, it is very individual. One of my favourites is actually me and Robyn when it comes to food, because I run on meat.
You too.
Like, I cannot explain to you guys, I run on meat.
You
if
do
you
really
sit
well.
me down with a
Especially
larger
red
part
meat.
of a cow, I will be a very, very happy chipmunk. Like, that is 100% how my body is made. I run better. I tend to be I have a lot more energy. I tend to be revved up for days. Yes, I have an underlying iron deficiency before some smart ass in the comments realise that's entirely true. Yes. I'm just going to preempt you on that one. But meat works really well for me, and I generally tend to get really lethargic on carbs. If you try and give me a large pasta dish, I will get really lethargic and I'll really struggle. Like, that's just not
If you
how
give
my
me a
body
large
works.
pasta dish, I'll go run around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because some people are different, and like I say, I'm not. I was vegetarian for quite a while, and I don't really like meat. Like, I do now eat. So, if anyone's wondering, I started eating meat after I was veggie I was veggie at 12 till 20, and I was diagnosed celiac at 16. So between the age of 16 and 20, I was a vegetarian and celiac, hence why orthorexia was becoming a problem, because I had to read the back of everything because I couldn't eat anything. I ate a lot of cheese, gluten-free cheese rolls. You could get rolls on prescription in my day, like Abe Simpson style. But
and then you met me, and then I fixed the meat eating problem.
Nah, not for quite a few years. It was a very difficult one because I managed to travel around China, do all my traveling and stuff, and I still was gluten-free celiac. And when I went back to eating meat, it was partly just to increase what I was able to eat, because again, I realised that it was just feeding into an eating disorder. And even now, if you were to offer me a plate of veggie food or meat, assuming that I could eat both of them, the veggie food will probably be more appealing to me. Dal bat, shout out to my dal rice lovers in the chat, because if you do love dal, you'll understand. Like lentils, pulses, beans, all of these things. I love tofu.
I'm sorry, I'm busy here daydreaming about a 32-ounce steak.
I know.
I ate a 32-ounce steak at one point, and I've still got happy memories
and
about it.
You ate most of a tuna.
And yeah, at one point I did eat most of a tuna.
Again, I don't judge you, and also I don't judge people if you're eating meat, etc., or choosing vegetarian, vegan. Like, that is your choice and that is your world. It is very much about what is best for you.
Peanuts are delicious, by the way.
Yes, sorry. But not the peanut.
Not the peanut.
The bizarre peanut we don't eat, but satay sauce generally. But like I say, you are now. But I was a really fussy eater. I should probably say this as well. Is when I say fussy eater, I didn't mean I had ARFID or anything like that. As a kid, I was very specific about what I would and wouldn't eat, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But I also, my palate really, I dislike the taste of so many foods, and as I got older I had to train. Like, I didn't like cheese. I was a kid who didn't like pizza. I'm saying this like I started liking cheese eventually, and I had to train myself to like things like peppers, like even kind of things kids will eat. And then as I got older, I kind of had to keep going, and now I'm at a place where I love, Brussels sprouts. Roast up a whole thing of Brussels sprouts, I can eat it like popcorn. I don't, because she hates the smell of cooking, in the same way she doesn't cook fish in the house, because I can't do that. Still not a fan of fishy fish or mushrooms. There's a few things that I'm still like, I can't do that. But one of the things that's actually really helped with my disordered eating has been the ability to eat more varied and interesting foods. And putting meat back into my diet was helpful to me in the way that I was thinking about food. Again, I don't want to go too far into that, because I think that I'm going to start to go into a place that sounds like advising or glamorizing. So I'm not doing that. But I just don't like, if someone would give me a steak, it'd be wasted on me. Be wasted.
And instead, just slide the plate over.
In the same way, you would eat chips, you'd eat potatoes, as our love of potatoes. Yeah. Potatoes are great.
Potatoes are great. It's the place we cross over.
It is the place we cross over. The truest. It's why it's potatoes.
I take pasta. Cow
and I can't even eat it. But like I say,
both take potatoes.
But that's interesting. Potato. And something, shout out potatoes in your chat. Which, post your favourite potato. Do you like plain potato, or do we like NB potato or rainbow potato? So yeah, and again, people in chat, like, if you're struggling with this, working out what your body runs best on, and that isn't going to be, some people are going to talk about
36 kilograms of meat, Floof. Can I come over to your house, please?
Floof, don't tempt her. She will find you.
I will.
So yeah, just kind of getting used to being okay with what your body needs, learning that, and not, if you love carbs and you run well off them, everybody does, by the way, like, I know you joke about it, but your body will eventually break things down.
Yeah.
It's more just that if you love carbs, please don't try and cut them out of your diet. You're not going to be able to live on something like that, and it won't bring you joy.
Life's too short.
In the same way, I don't have to eat large chunks of meat in my life. I eat chicken. Chicken's fine. I like a smash burger. Those are good. But otherwise, like, finding what you need and what you thrive on is really important.
Yeah.
When did Token's thing become a potato? Bizarre. That was what I said. I have made them potatoes now.
Yeah.
But like I say, we might turn bits into peanuts in your honour.
Nothbean.
What did Nothbean say?
They're a butcher.
A butcher, oh my gosh.
I've just been offered half a cow.
I think, honestly, I want to point out here, occasionally as social media things, this is not fake, occasionally as social media thing, we occasionally get offered things which we're always overwhelmed, like the corsets, for example. We got gifted free custom corsets. If you were genuinely gifting this woman half a cow...
I would find you wherever you are. I would run across the
There have been jokes about... genuinely, we live near some friends and we have considered buying like meat like that, because I'm quite big on now eating meat. I care quite a lot about the kind of where it comes from, how it's used, and making sure I personally have a not quite nose to tail, but I try to.
I mean, we need to do an asado with all of our meat eaters here. Like, get some really
and our cheese beef and potatoes.
Yeah, get some beef.
You just want to do an asado.
Yeah.
So thank you. But anyway, thank you, everybody. This is... I think we've gone slightly away from eating disorders, but we're talking generally. We have something I want to ask you about.
There are also other questions, I'm pretty sure, which we've absolutely lost. We need to get the questions.
Sorry, I need to get the command in.
Yeah.
If you've got questions, please do let us know, because we have talked a few bits.
Leaky, that's outstanding.
Because what I was really interested in is what role eating disorders and the promotion of certain body types takes in a political space, because you're fascinating about this, and if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
Well, what I'm asking is body types are go through fashion.
Yes.
And this theory as well, that as when you're in cost of living and when you're going through a depression, why skinny bodies are lauded versus why when is fat seen as something. Because, different bodies have been lauded through different periods of history. And often it's been, if you're able to put on weight, that is a sign of status. In the same way now, if you're able to put on muscle and hold it, that's a status sign, because it shows
that's
you...
in your niche.
In my niche.
If you're able to be skinny, I think it's still basically in social zeitgeist.
But it's also, what... Can eating disorders be weaponised by the ruling classes?
Yeah, of course they fucking can.
Because I find this fascinating.
Like, it's not necessarily eating disorders. Like I say, I just don't think that eating disorders are a direct result of societal pressure. I think they are influenced by and inform the manifestation of an eating disorder, but I just don't really buy into the idea of eating disorders being fundamentally a response to a social context, because I just think that's misleading.
Yeah, so you think it's that internal drive rather than just... Yes. But then the social drive is what shapes it.
There are also other things here, which is where we get into the distinction between what eating disorders are and disordered eating, which is eating disorders are fundamentally the things that are fall under the diagnostic criteria. Then there is disordered eating, which is eating that is non-normative. With the big problem here of, find me a living fucking human being who eats normally. Like, everybody's screwed up around food and eating.
Oh, this is a mess.
There is too much information. There is too many different narratives. Everybody is carrying generational trauma as well. I've not met anybody yet, irrespective of which generation they're currently hailing from, that doesn't have some degree of generational trauma around what it means to exist within a physical body in space.
Coming here as the grandchild of a greengrocer who lived through the rationing and Blitz, it was very interesting. My nan, what a legend. Like I say, they ran a greengrocer for ages. My grandmother and her mother, my great grandmother, and her approach to food is this keeping everything, and it's eat everything on your plate, and very much that silent generation, greatest generation. I think that's where they get that in. But then seeing people in my sort of parents' generation, they got hit with that low fat, low salt. It just depends what was in the zeitgeist at the time, I think. I'm
also just going to quickly grab the question, which is
how are they portrayed
on TV, because that's actually a really important sub-point.
I'm actually going to get a drink.
Thanks for listening to that,
I'm going to steal one of your Diet Cokes because it's cold. Yeah. Please continue, because that's a fascinating question.
Oh, good Lord. There are very few good portrayals of eating disorders on TV, and I think it's very difficult to do so, because anorexia fundamentally is if you're doing a story about anorexia, your fundamental audience is going to be a load of people who... Oh, we've frozen. Honey, you've knocked something.
I've knocked something.
Yeah.
Like Noctis.
Yeah, I don't know what's knocked. Oh, good, you can still hear me.
You can still hear us. It's fine. I genuinely made a Noctis joke. That's hilarious.
Final Fantasy 15 representing.
Stand by
we're just fixing the camera, team. Give us a second. I will cry again.
Yeah, if you've not played Final Fantasy 15, that won't make sense. But if you have,
then your soul is broken, and I'm sorry. Everyone hated Final Fantasy 15 but me.
I did. Well, I liked Final Fantasy. I like watching you play it.
I know, but it wasn't exactly everyone's favourite.
We are still gamers. I feel like sometimes we should actually say this on, like...
We've said it on, I think, mostly every stream so far.
Good.
So, chill. We're all good.
Back on topic.
Oh, we've also got the camera.
Camera needs to go behind the alerts. Camera.
Oh, and now we're echoing, apparently.
I got it.
Ooh.
Echo. We did that in perfect harmony.
Ta-da.
That was glorious.
And back.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes,
marvellous. Thanks, Steve.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, darling.
Telling a story about anorexia.
Yes, if you're telling a story about anorexia, 98% of your audience is going to be various anorexics who are then using it as inspiration. Because if you've got somebody who is effectively small enough to be to be doing a role where they're anorexic, they are absolutely going to be used as inspiration by a set of people who are already unwell, and you're fundamentally just feeding the machine. So that really becomes self-injurious. If you're going to try and portray eating disorders, then what you're trying to do is raise awareness and not feed the problem. Meanwhile, ain't nobody wants to watch bulimia. And I'm being really, really realistic here. It is just, I don't think there is a way of portraying bulimia that doesn't actually make things worse. Because actually I think people can and will find that really revolting. And actually this isn't intended in a way of being self-deprecating. It's being a way of being realistic, where I actually want to talk about and see stories told about bulimia. Like, it was very meaningful for me discovering that Princess Diana had severe bulimia.
Did she?
Yes. Princess Diana was bulimic. And because it's one of those things that seeing somebody in that state, it's bad enough when you saw, like, there are certain TV shows that have also, like, if you see, often it's in fantasy shows and things like that, where you see people binging, and that in itself really triggers a lot of revulsion in a lot of people, let alone watching purging. Like, that's not, and also, even then, showing that visually, or even trying to tell a story about it, is going to really struggle to capture the internal experience of what having an eating disorder is like. And I think that's why I tend to really dislike a lot of stories about eating disorders, because it's often done by people who have an understanding of eating disorders from their own perspective and on their own lens. And I think that causes a level of necessary bias. Either you are somebody who's not had an eating disorder and are telling stories of people you've known with eating disorders, so you can only really comment on the actions and the behaviours more than the internal experience, or you have an eating disorder and you don't have the insight to really be able to distinguish between almost what the drivers of your eating disorder are, or you're recovered and you're biased because it's entirely in your own perspective. Like, I wouldn't be able to write a good story about an eating disorder. I know that because I'm way too deep in it. I really can't deal with that. I can't tell that story properly. And like, I'm a writer. I've written extensively for a lot of my life, and I would not feel like I'd be able to tell that story because there's something which is too individual and too relative and too personal. And for the bulimia part of it, too deeply shrouded in a fuck ton of shame. And that's all important parts of why I cannot deal with media that tries to do eating disorders, because all of it feels like somebody else's idea of what an eating disorder is supposed to be. And it's often like these ballet dancers with an exaggerated idea of control, which ends up just being you have no idea what Black Swan did in the pro-Anna community at the time it came out. It was a hellscape. And I that's the problem, is if you're not in that world, you don't know what it's doing.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
You just said notes because that was brilliant. It was more just that Leaky just said one of the funniest things I've ever seen on stream, and I'm so proud of him.
ASMR.
I'm obsessed. Fifi, do you want to say hello? Do you want to see your emoji?
Leaky accurate statements are accurate.
Also, I enjoy that you can now get, I hadn't realised, but they've done it with Fifi with shades.
Also, we should
cool,
probably
Fifi.
Do a Diet Coke emoticon at some point, because everywhere I've been in like work as well, everywhere I've gone and I've worked, I've ended up with somebody making me a Diet Coke emoticon. Which is really, really damning. Can I have the volume of Diet Coke I've drank across over my ears. It's on Slack. They're not emotes on Slack. They're emoticons.
No, but I just find it fascinating that emojis.
How old am I?
I saw the fall of Rome.
Yeah.
I think you are a study into artificial sweeteners. You might have drunk more Diet Coke than anyone ever in existence.
I very much, and again, also like team, I don't condone my own behaviours. Do not drink as much Diet Coke as I drink, and don't vape, but I do both of them. As far as I'm concerned, harm minimisation is the important part, and like I'm going, yeah, sure, I'm addicted to Diet Coke. There are so many bigger problems I wish to fix.
But also, we're talking about kind of replacing habits.
Yeah.
And sometimes you replace habits that you need to replace, or and again, sort of this habitual element of eating disorders is very interesting to me, because you have to notice you're doing it in order to break a habit, because habits are so familiar to your brain, and you might even just find yourself walking the same route where you go to the shops that you buy your binge stuff. Like, even just breaking that habit can be so massive in changing the behavior. But also, if you're trying to replace, I mean, a lot of the thing, it's the thing that people say, you know, oh, if you're hungry, chew gum because it gives you something to do with your mouth. Yeah, well, actually, yes. Like, there are things like that. Like, if you are trying to find, if what, you know, if, for example, purging gives you a sense of, you know, emptiness or cleanliness, like, I'm not saying that chewing gum is going to give you that, but it might.
So
like
one of the
finding
genuine,
the things,
honest to God tricks that I genuinely found that was actually really helpful to me is I have an enormous amount of rage. Like, joking aside, I've talked about this a little bit on TikTok in the past, and I'll talk about it again on stream at some point, genuinely, I had a really, really difficult time with anger management when I was younger, and I still do. I really, really struggle with my rage. And one of the things about externalizing a very loud internal experience was smashing ice cubes in a bath. Doesn't break anything. Smashes very loudly. I can yell like a banshee while smashing things, and the act of smashing things was an incredibly helpful way of me doing a non-damaging externalization of an internal experience. And it sounds insane, the fact that smashing ice cubes in a bath was genuinely helpful for my extremely treatment-resistant eating disorder. But those are the kinds of things that we're talking about. It's finding the things that work for you as well. Like, there are certain tips which will not work for you. Like, chewing gum was always completely irrelevant for me. Like, that was never going to be a thing. But smashing shit, absolutely love that. I want to go to a rage room at some point, because that would be fan-fucking-tastic.
I mean, if it helps, I have some cardboard you can absolutely smash and deconstruct.
Like, there are some fantastic images as well of me at one point when I was in my last job. I got to smash a server with a hammer, and it was an actual, like, proper server with a proper hammery job. And it's just, I really scared a set of guys just because I think everyone knew I was a little rage monster, but I don't think they were quite expecting, like, me with my posh accent and everything else to just be, you know, going ham with a fucking hammer. It was the best day.
I love that for you, honey.
I feel like women are not particularly allowed to get in touch with their anger a lot of the time, and I just go, there are so many men and women I know who would it would do so much therapeutic good to go and fucking smash things with fucking hammers.
You know, I really do have to start putting vulgarity and language on if you...
Sorry, I'll calm down.
No, it's all right. I'm not
really
judging
sorry.
you.
I was really restrained for the last two
you
streams,
were, and
I've really gone off.
It's fine.
Off this one.
I'm debating making a swear jar emote.
I'm simply, I mean, no. And also, as that's actually a really important part, though. Like, that's kind of the thing. Like, the thing about smashing things is, and the thing about rage is that often rage becomes a pathway to other things. I can't stop apologising. It's in my DNA. But
which part?
But the ending up in a ball crying thing is actually a really important function, I think, of what rage can do, is it allows you access to those types of quite intense emotional experiences. If you're worried about doing that, like, publicly, etc., that's a different kind of question, but there are places you can do, which is if that's something you're worried about, either going with trusted people or going in a place where you're just going, can you just give me space to have my, like, to process my emotions in peace? Because, to be honest, if rage rooms are, that's not going to be something new to them. Like, that is absolutely not going to be a new experience, and I think the fear of judgment of having that type of intense emotional experience often stops people from being able to access it at all. And so all it does is it sits there and it rots and it festers and it gets toxic and it gets twisted and it gets internalized. And that's the part that ends up getting really problematic. And I, as somebody, like I say, who has really needed to work on managing my rage, I can't recommend more finding whatever pathways to bleed that radiator you can humanly find, because the more it sits in there, the more it starts to get nasty, and it starts to get nasty
have physical
at you
effects
and other people.
as well.
Physical effects, the whole
like yeah, you're completely right. On a physiological level, it is healthier to often be able to find controlled ways to let this out. And when I say controlled, I just mean, you know, safe ways to let it out. Otherwise, if it's internal,
Peanut.
I know you just saw what Peanut said, didn't you?
Sweet baby Jesus.
Oh, fantastic.
Spectacular.
I was just thinking we could just do a supercut of you swearing. Just clip just every single time you swear, because I would enjoy watching that. It's also, like I say, it would end up being a very long
one, like over an extended period of time. I don't think, like, again, I've been really restrained for the last two streams.
You
this
have.
Has been me
I've
starting
been quite
to
impressed.
Genuinely, like, relax into it a bit more, unless you're seeing more of my perennial swearing. That's just going to get worse over time. So there's going to come a point in like 6 months' time where it's just going to be like months and months and months of just me swearing profusely.
I would enjoy that. Oh, also to let you know, team, we're planning to stream tomorrow night rather than Wednesday. Again, partly just due to my work commitments and partly so that, we're still learning what days we want to do at what point. So tomorrow is probably... let us know if you think 7 or 8 p.m. in the chat. Yeah. I would stream, if Em ever does go to a rage room, I will stream it for you. So yeah, let us know every day, bless you. Well, if we're streaming tomorrow on Tuesday, let us know UK 7 p.m. or 8 p.m, which works better for y'all. And then I will probably be back on Friday doing my binder. I will bring all my chest binders, which is a whole box of chest binders.
Ooh, look at you go.
I know, I'll bring it down and I'm not going to... I think if I changed into each of them, that would be a very different kind of stream, but I will hold them up and I will show you and we'll talk about all the binders. 8 p.m. better? Yeah, that's cool. So we can do a bit of a...
couple of 7s as well.
Couple of 7s. Okay, we'll have a little look.
I think we can probably... I'd prefer being slightly earlier anyway, personally for myself. So
Sure.
We'll probably go in and out of them, but we are... Yeah. I think I was mentioning to Robyn at the beginning of this, we should probably put on a little when are we next expecting to be back banner.
Yes, I do have... There is one on the thing, but yeah, it's cool. We'll work out again. We'll put it on at 7:30. Thank you. Yes, there is always a middle road.
Splitting the difference does in fact make sense.
Yeah, the Friday is just going to be literally going through all these chest binders and seeing what we got.
And our next one's going to be a bit more chill because we are doing deeper topics, and that's, I think, this is the thing about Mental Health Mondays, and it's why we like doing Mental Health Mondays, because it's a good opportunity to talk about various things like eating disorders or I don't know. Untemperate rage.
Or just a rage one. So Mental Health Monday.
There are worse things to do than talking about anger.
Yeah. But yeah, Mental Health Monday will just be... generally, also generally Tuesdays are busy for me too. Like, literally, we are going to be... thank you, Otter. Thank you, Otter. We're gonna see how we go, because currently we are in the lovely summer holidays, but I do teach term time.
Yeah.
I teach evenings, so there will be some evenings where I'm teaching. Basically, Tuesdays and Thursdays are out for me. Other days are pretty fair game, ideally not Saturdays.
I'll be able to do Sunday evenings.
Maybe Sunday evenings. We're going to have a little look at which days we can do. Oh, nothing. Thank you.
You guys have been demented today. I adore you.
Thank you, team. You have been amazing. So
Sorry,
yes,
when I say demented, I do genuinely.
She means that in a loving way.
Nothing. You
thank you,
sweetheart.
So we but yeah, we're trying to work out which days that we want to do. Yeah, we do have a schedule feature, translate to everyone's time. Yes, I've got that that's on there. Also, you're gonna look at changing the page and things like that. Please not Wednesday. Possibly, it depends on which days my teaching comes up. Yeah. So, but it also depends. Like we might discover that there are things we want to do earlier in the day, because this is the other thing.
Maybe at some stage you'll get the audacity to also run solo ones, and you'll just get me
solo book club stream. Solo book club stream. I would watch that. Thank you. We're so grateful you're here, Otter. Thank you. And like I say, we still have 20 minutes left of this. I just wanted to kind of bring it up while everyone was still here, in case anyone had to vanish. Is that we will be here tomorrow, and again, tomorrow is going to be, I'm going to try and see, actually I could put you on this.
Oh god, what am I doing?
Finding amusing couples questions.
Oh,
so tagging us on social media for finding couples questions that we can answer, because that'll
and yes, we can absolutely do a discussion of dealing with chronic illness.
Yeah, especially with chronic illness. That would be a lovely one. And M's book club. I think that's bring your own booze.
Yeah.
It's bring your own booze and then sit, and I mean, it would probably also be the case that if you're, we could get to the point, if you're a subscriber, we put your name into a lottery, you get to pick the book for the week. Stuff like that. That's always stuff.
That would be really cool.
You'd love a book club. If we give an excuse to read.
Oh, more reading, more things.
More things.
And also, yes, I could do the history of potatoes. I'm actually surprisingly well read on the history of potatoes.
I'm shocked but not surprised. I didn't know you were well read in the... Well, it's the thing that comes up is that, I've said it before, it's when people are like, why are there black people in this film? I'm like, it's a period drama. Why are there potatoes in Europe? Why are there potatoes? It's one of my favourite references. Welcome.
Oh, and peanuts. I can do some research on peanuts as well, so we can have a proper stream on the history of potatoes and peanuts. And yes, the history of coffee is fantastic. There are some fantastic, specifically really, really good history bits in there. And yeah, the Irish potato famine, which I would personally consider a genocide, but I'm going to get political on stream. We're onto the political
on stream.
We're on the political one.
I think you, yes, having spent some time in Dublin and going around. So, team, this is completely unrelated, but
anyway, so there was actually a question about eating disorders. I'd quite like to get back to.
I will go back to that. I just will also say that it was amazing working in Ireland for 3 months, and whenever I'm doing stuff like that, 7 p.m. quite a margin. Whenever I'm in places like that, I tend to, because I'm on my own for a lot of the time, I tend to take myself to local museums and histories, and I learned a wonderful amount about the Troubles and also and the potato famine and about land rights in Ireland. So shout out.
Also,
I think I'm like
Leaky,
a 16th Irish, so I wish I could say I was more, but shout out to my Irish fellows.
I also just want to say thank you for the calligraphic history as well, because absolutely the fuck yes, it drives me completely feral seeing Gothic fonts in periods. There should absolutely not be any.
But hairstyles is your big one.
Oh, hairstyles. So the other Boleyn girl.
Oh god, no, we can't. We've only got 15 minutes left on this stream. We can't get into the other Boleyn girl now.
I got so fucking
she
mad.
got
at the
so
hair in
mad.
That film. And
it's okay, baby.
I was quite young at the time.
It won't hurt you
I
anymore.
was so angry. Like I'm very like my big Tudor period was specifically the first 3 wives of Henry VIII. I was about 13, 14 and was encyclopedic on that area of Tudor history. And I like when the other Boleyn girl came out and I knew a lot about Anne Boleyn at the time. I really enjoyed the book. There were some bits like, and it was actually pretty good in terms of historical, like ish. But I was prepared to do it as a fiction book. But I then went absolutely feral when the film came out and the hairstyles were all completely incorrect for the period. I lost my ever loving mind. Sorry, that was a slight side note, but just
no, it's fine.
I'm still furious to my marrow about that film.
Yeah, if you ever want M to be randomly, yes, thank you, Lawmonger, correct. If you ever want to kind of just get M on an M rant, your topics are the Tudors, Fabergé eggs, Titanic.
The sinking of the Titanic.
The sinking of the Titanic,
and the
quite
White
specifically,
Star Line.
and the White Star Line more broadly.
Yes.
If you pick any of those things, you will lure her into chatting. Right, team. Yes, please repeat a question if it has been lost in chat, because we would like to go back to it. It's just we were keeping.
It was talking to a friend. There was somebody who asked, and I'm sorry, it's somewhere in the chat, but it's talking about how to talk to a friend who has an eating disorder.
Ah, yes.
Which is genuinely...
God, it's difficult.
It's hard because you're going to be met with flat-out fucking denial. The thing that I would really suggest for if you have a friend who has an eating disorder or you suspect has an eating disorder, you need to open the doors to let them come to you.
Yeah.
Confrontation is more likely... Like, I'm speaking a little bit from certainly the bulimia side of the fence, which is if somebody had come to me, if somebody had tried to confront me about their suspicions... I would have not only denied them, I would have ripped their head off, decorated my nearby turrets with it, and you wouldn't see me for dust. It was not a thing that I was prepared to conscience. I could not do it. If you'd confronted me, I would have gone even further underground. It was very damaging for me. But it's very much an opening space to let people come to you. It's very much don't come in with preconceptions, obviously, but there's a thing about coming in from the perspective of, I'm noticing there are things that are different about you, and I kind of just want to give you the space and the opportunity to talk if there are things you want to talk about, and it's leaving that kind of slightly unbounded space open, because ultimately, because eating disorders are often shrouded in a lot of secrecy around the behaviours that go into it and the mentality that goes into it, trying to talk about it directly can often feel very, very confronting, whether or not, no matter how gently you do it, it feels like a confrontation, it feels like an attack. And that's the opposite of what we want to do. Like, it's very much a case of the more you can do I'm here for you and I want to give you the opportunity to talk about anything that you might have to talk about. Won't happen the first time. Probably won't happen the second or third. But the more you're talking to somebody and building up a place of going, there are things I want to be able to talk about. And there's a certain degree of reciprocity, opening up space, building up trust is that kind of thing of going, if you're talking about things of I've been really struggling with X, it opens up space to be able to talk about things in a slightly more honest frame. There's a slightly different caveat here that comes in. If they are in immediate physical danger, there are different things you need to do, and that becomes you need to call in external help. And that may be the path that needs to be gone down, because eating disorders are resilient little fuckers. But if what you're doing is trying to get somebody to a point where they're talking to you and you can be more meaningfully helpful, the only thing you can do is open the door, but they have to walk through it. You're just going to get more problems if you try and do it the other way around, is my take on it. Like I say, that's personal perspective, not a professional.
I will say, if you are in the same way, if you are worried about someone's immediate health, that might be a case of if you're worried, if you're worried like immediate health, 1111999, like if you're worried, if you need to seeking medical professionals, etc. Also, if you are worried about a young person and you are reporting, that needs to go down safeguarding lines, please. So I don't know how much safeguarding is gonna you may have done, but if you are worried about a young person, speaking to trusted, or if, for example, if you are speaking trusted teachers, etc., people who have safeguarding lines of reporting, they may be able to step in.
By a similar token is actually for adults as well. If somebody's got a partner or other friends who they're very close with, who they're slightly more comfortable talking with, it can be good to go via other friends. And it's one of those things which I almost never recommend that, because it feels like going behind people's backs.
Yeah.
But it is very much if they have people who they do trust more. Like if there was somebody who was noticing red flags with me, I can tell them, talking to me about it, it doesn't matter how well I know you, I'm going to deny it. I'm going to deny and I'm going to go underground. Talking to Robyn knows how to have those conversations with me in a slightly different way. Yeah. And that's, again, part of the mechanics. And also I am going to reiterate what's being said in the chat right now. It is if you're a young person and you're trying to support other young people with eating disorders, please talk to an adult.
Having been young people, supporting young people with this, oh my God, I look back now, and I've said this before, teaching people who are our age, children, like babies. At the time, and respectfully, you genuinely feel, it feels like it is something within your capacity. And I don't diminish, like I say, young people are awesome. Teach them, work with them, they're great. But when you are an adult looking back, you're going, oh my God, these are children. Yeah. Like, with love, and you need support. Please, please, please. We've said it so many times. We are not medical professionals, but you need to seek help.
Learn from the mistakes that Robyn and I made, which is trying to go this alone.
Don't do it
when
alone.
We were teenagers.
And it might be, find your trusted adult. And that is not always a parent or a teacher or someone who you care about and respect, a trusted adult in your life, and talk to them about it. They may also not quite know what to do, but they can then talk to other adults and other resources. So please, and also...
And like, if you're a child who does have a friend who has an eating disorder, you may well need to get therapeutic support of your own.
Yeah, it's like,
not even necessarily as a carer or anything like that, but as somebody who is in proximity to somebody who has complicated mental health problems. And it's something which, again, I've been a florid disaster for most of my life. And there are a lot of people who I would say who have been in contact with me at various points, not just during crisis, but actually just watching the quiet disintegration of another human being. That is something which you kind of do need help and support to be able to process on your own terms with as well.
It's a really difficult thing to watch and experience, and you might not even realise it. Yeah. Because you might be thinking, oh, I'm helping. It
leaves echoes for a very long time.
It's doing things. Like, please, again, this is learning from our mistakes here. I just quickly want to answer this question that's been here about ADHD, getting diagnosed, coping strategies. I would say we are unlikely to do that at present because it's not in either of our wheelhouses. Talking generally about neurodivergence, maybe?
Yeah, like I am, so neither Robyn or I are diagnosed with any form of neurodivergence.
We are not diagnosed with anything.
I think at this point been relatively extensively peer reviewed, but...
peer reviewed.
But I haven't been diagnosed. I'm not going to pretend I have been.
I'm on the waiting list for ADHD diagnosis and have been for 3 years. And again, also peer reviewed.
Yeah, you've been pretty extensively peer reviewed. I feel like I'm about to get. Round
Chat
two
is about
to
get peer review. So, honey, do tell us about the sinking of the Titanic. No,
that's a totally normal thing to have hyperfixated on as a 12-year-old.
So are Fabergé eggs. So yes, I'm not sure we would be able to talk specifically about a type of neurodivergence. I think the thing we could probably talk about is. Well, I mean, personally,
I can talk about sensory processing because I have actually been diagnosed with that.
That's cool, and we can talk about what it means in society and different minds working in different ways.
I'm also very interested, like I say, in neuropsychiatry. And this is one of the things that's I as I've also mentioned in previous streams, I'm very much in the post-diagnosis revolution, which is very much I don't necessarily buy into the idea that diagnostics are useful for anything other than getting the pathway to the right help. The diagnosis is the thing that lets you go into the right places to get the support that you need. That's my take on that. So when we're talking about things like neurodivergence and neuropsychiatry and a lot of those sort of sister fields, there's aspects of what it means. Because like one thing that really bugs me is the fact that neurodivergence was originally intended as a way of discussing the fact that all human brains have their own patterning. There isn't a typicality to the human brain. And it then got very much taken over by neurodivergence in the sense of specifically autism and ADHD and related neurodivergent conditions. But there is also the lovely thing of the fact that human brains are not diverse. They're not typical. There's a whole load of different random structural and functional differences in different parts of the human brain, and it's fascinating.
Can I get a shout out here? Just to quickly want to say, because we've only got about 5 minutes left on this one. No, it's absolutely fine. It's waiting list for ADHD. You may be able to go down the right to choose pathway. There are complications with that. So right to choose, again, it means that you have the ability to ask for a different provider. There are some issues in that sometimes private providers and NHS don't talk to each other as well as they should. However, there are people out there getting very good results. I've chosen not to go down that pathway partly because I keep forgetting about it, which tells you a lot about my brain, but also because like I say, I really don't want to get to a point where, I'm diagnosed with something and then I can't get my medication and things like that. So there's lots of things to think about with that, but Right to Choose does exist and it may be worth looking at it. But yeah, it's not a disorder to have a brain that works in a different way. Someone has asked about the Irish potato famine. I don't think we can do it justice in 5 minutes.
No, I'm not doing
I would, if anyone
we're not
could,
doing
willing to try.
But we're not. I'm not doing a Sparkman's Irish
So
potato famine.
let's, last 5 minutes.
There are actual Irish people here. I'm not going to insult their fucking heritage by doing a really poor canned 5-minute recap.
I wish I was more than a tiny bit Irish. It's such an incredible country with such an amazing history, and it's beautiful. If you've never been to Ireland, go to Ireland. Anyway, team, we've got 5 minutes left. If you have any questions relating to disordered eating or eating disorders, please do pop them in the chat now.
I am also going to mention, while we're talking about neurodivergence, the fact that there is a significant degree of crossover between autism and ARFID, and part of the reason of that is the second subtype of ARFID, which is to do with sensory processing, which is often food types that become incredibly difficult for various sensory processing reasons to be able to ingest properly. That is not saying that everybody with ARFID is autistic, or indeed vice versa, but it's just one of those things which, in a world of disordered eating, where, like I say, I'd say all eating disorders have something underpinning them, but we've talked about this across the entire day. It's worth noting where those relationships end up sitting and ending up sort of crossing over a little bit. It's an important recognition of the fact that there are often comorbid disorders that have their own specific challenges. Sensory processing and ARFID are slightly separate. They are dealing with slightly different phenomena, but there are crossovers, there are interrelationships, and all of psychology is murky and messy and lots of crossover and lots of wobbly bits.
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey. And it's, again, binge eating disorder and bulimia are kind of sibling conditions. You've got binge purge subtype anorexia and bulimia. All of these
interesting
things,
OCD.
Orthorexia, anorexia, OCD and orthorexia.
Yeah, there's some really interesting ones. So these things are, it is impossible really to pull apart a brain and say this is this condition and this is this. Most of these things are a collection of symptoms that could actually be various things, and if a symptom sits in more than one camp, like this idea of being obsessive in some way, and if that sits in more than one camp, yes, it's going to sit both in the OCD and also in the orthorexia, and one can exacerbate the other because it's both triggering this same symptom.
Yes.
Do you have advice to help yourself when you start to spiral with it again but can't tell others? When you notice a spiral.
Yes. It's
basically
relapsing.
Well done on noticing is the first thing, because noticing is one of the really hardest things to do, because you keep telling yourself you're fine. And I don't know about you, but we occasionally call my disordered eating the evil monkey in my head. But when the evil monkey is being very, very silly, and it sounds so convincing. It says, no, this is a good idea, and it's a good idea for this, and you don't want to worry her. And I think that even just being able to notice when you're starting to go down those train of thought, if you notice for yourself that you don't want, if you're normally talking to someone and you feel you don't want to tell someone about a behaviour, and you have that sticking point, it's not a guarantee, but if you notice that and that closing down of yourself, that is one of the first things. So I'd suggest maybe opening up.
I agree. It's not often I would find that very difficult to do. I still have that thing of, if I have what I call blips, which are episodes of binging purging, which have been in the years subsequent to my sort of recovery arc, as it were, it'll take me a minimum of 3 weeks to mention the fact that it's happened. It just doesn't happen. That's not how I roll. I have too much shame attached to it. The thing that I will say for it though is I think it is really important how you frame these things in your head. Yeah. Because at the point in time where you start to identify the fact that you're spiraling, or you have relapsed, or are using very binary terms to frame it, it becomes a little bit of a fait accompli. It's why I call what I think other people would call minor relapses or whatever on my bulimia blips, because for me they are a blip in an otherwise recovery trajectory. If you're spiraling and things are getting worse, naming it as such in some ways gives you permission to almost let the spiral happen. And that's not intended as a criticism. It's intended as very much an observation of certainly where my brain goes, which is if the moment I say that I've relapsed or I'm spiraling or something like that, I implicitly give myself permission in a disorder that is covered in secrecy and shame anyway to quietly continue down that path.
This secrecy and shame is such a key thing here because it's sort of linking in, and yes, evil monkey is great. It's the, and we'll sometimes say, is that you or am I talking to the monkey? But in the same way, something that helps here, and again, we are not medical professionals.
We're not medical professionals.
Is if I turn to you and say, I'm struggling at the moment.
Yep.
Now, you have to be able to know the other people well, and you need to know whether this is something you can. But even just saying it aloud has combated the part of me that wants to keep it secret. And that is already going to help me. Because if I can turn around and I can say, I'm thinking this, and you can turn around and say, yeah, and I hear it out loud. I hear how ridiculous it is because a lot of ED thinking is ridiculous when you actually say it and you bring it into the open. And I say to you, I'm struggling with this. I say what I'm struggling with. And you almost don't need to say anything. I just go, that's stupid, isn't it? And yeah, that's the monkey. Yeah, it's the monkey talking. Yeah. And again, separating out from yourself and knowing it is not because you are a bad person who is deeply, putting it into the evil monkey is helpful for me because then I'm like, it's not me, it's the monkey. However, it's still me, obviously we can talk about blame and
almost setting up
responsibility.
sort of code phrases for it really helpful. Like I got to a point where towards the end of my eating disorder time, it used to be a case that I'd just go, I've had a bad day.
Yeah.
And genuinely, I don't think I've used that phrase really since recovering.
You haven't?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it became basically my code phrase.
Bad day, yeah. I've had a bad day.
And that became a code for it. I don't need to verbally acknowledge what has been going on or the things that I'm ashamed of. But I can still say it in some frame. And that can also be, again, a good way to help mitigate some of the secrecy issues.
Yes, sorry, I'm obsessed with Time for a Kiss. You're scrolling your new streamer and you knew you'd be British. It's because we're pale, isn't it?
I glow in the dark, don't call me pale.
Yes, and yes, finally got the new emotes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think there is a lot to be said on this topic. I just want to shout out as well, the pinned comment is talking about Beat. They are a charity.
Yes, they were fantastic when I was younger
Please
as well.
do check them out. There are also more mental health charities broadly. I won't lie, the care for eating disorder in UK especially is pretty terrible. Like, again, we've talked about mental health care, how much we love the NHS and how difficult it is.
Yep.
But help does exist and you are able to go, that is pursuable. It also maybe exists in sort of sideways ways. Just to say here is, we've talked a little bit, I know we're running over on stream slightly, so we'll wrap this up. But if you can work out what it is that is ironically feeding your eating disorder, what is it giving you? It may be that alternate forms of therapy, if you can't go in for something directly for eating disorders, if you can start, like you say, putting in that groundwork of the other stuff in your brain, it can be really helpful. And you might find the eating disorder is a symptom or is a coping strategy. It's a management strategy. Yeah. It's also something your body is very used to doing. It's also used to getting that feedback. That can become a loop.
The physical aftermath of recovering from bulimia. Jesus, mother of
It's
fuck.
a lot. No, we're not doing another hour, Peanut, but thank you for asking. So yeah, it's the pale safari eventually. Oh, it's not even this, mate. It's a jumpsuit. So yes, if you are thinking about what to do next and where to go, if you're struggling with disordered eating behaviours, generally we say therapy. We say talk to people. It might be a case, like if you're struggling with certain eating disorders, that a dietitian is very helpful, especially but then the treatment for ARFID, as we've already said, like treatment for ARFID, working out your safe foods and what is centrally acceptable to all that stuff, that is a really different pathway to working out how to,
manage an underlying mood disorder that may or may not be manifesting itself as a severe bulimia.
Yeah.
For example.
So,
completely random idea.
I think if we could sum up this stream, the things we've said are, if you want to watch back, if you're watching back this stream, you gave some really good examples and definitions of what eating disorders are. We talked a little bit about the dysphoria and dysmorphia.
Yep.
A little bit also about eating disorders in the trans community. They're very prevalent. Just a little shout out there for my trans siblings. We talked a bit about, really, the thing to take away is identifying what role this disorder is playing in your life. Like, what is it is giving you? And then making sure that if you are going to tackle it, you are replacing it. You're putting in the scaffolding that allows you to remove the eating disorder from part of your behavioural set without collapsing the entirety of your mental health around it. Otherwise, you just won't be able to.
Yeah. The reality is, if you don't have the scaffolding, and it's a long-term coping mechanism you've got there, the thing you're coping with is still going to be there.
It's
So
still
you're going
gonna
to
be
need to
there.
do something else.
Yeah, with all these things, it's you see posture check. Yep, hello and hi. How are you today? Hello, welcome to new people in the chat.
We've got new people. Darling, we can't do this for another.
No, we can't do it for another hour, but it's been amazing. We are coming back tomorrow, and that's going to be cute couples questions and far more. We shall enjoy the potatoes. I will see. Stream tomorrow night. It's probably going to be 7, 8, 9. It'll be great to see you guys then. Thank you again.
Maybe we'll let ourselves overrun tomorrow if we're feeling particularly snazzy.
I really want to shout out, by the way, people who have gifted those subscriptions.
Yeah, you guys have been incredible.
It's made a massive difference.
180
This stream,
subscribers.
I know, right? This stream will be available. It'll be 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock through to 9 o'clock probably. Yeah. I mean, we might overrun. Who knows?
We'll see how it goes.
So if you want to watch this back, or if you've missed any, it will be back on our channel. I am going to do my best to start kind of trying to harvest some of these clips and putting them in other bits of social media so that we can find the best bits. You want scones? Oh my god, yes.
Anyway, yes,
Scone
I
versus
also will
scone.
give you book recommendations. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can talk about books
You want
tomorrow.
book recs? Well, think of your questions.
I'm going to have some great time.
Hitting 200 next stream, we absolutely will. So we'll hit some of
come
those.
with lots of questions so we can all chat about random shit.
And I will sit here and make some more emotes and see if we can have more prizes for our gorgeous subscribers and to all of our viewers, to our followers. Thank you for this. Abusing the swear jar. Thank you, Otter. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
See you all tomorrow.
See you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves.
Bye.